You are watching ACC Network Extra from the Carrier Dome. It's the University of South Florida against the Syracuse Orange. And welcome everybody inside the Dome on homecoming here at the Cuse. Doug Sherman along with former University of Virginia head coach Al Groh. So glad you could join us here today for a rematch between two old Big East Conference rivals. Now, Al, the last time these two teams met was last fall. USF down in Tampa gave Syracuse a pretty good beating, and since that time the Bulls have been on a roll.
It really turned the fortunes for the Bulls. What they had was a talented team that was still in the phase of development. That development really accelerated at that point, and they've been hot ever since.
And what you're seeing here is that game from October 10th, 2015. USF broke open a close one with a 21-point third quarter. A pair of Marlon Mack touchdown runs sandwiched around a Quentin Flowers touchdown pass. USF rolled 45-24. The good news for USF is that Mack is back after missing last week with an injury. Meanwhile, for Syracuse, the Orange coming in with a record of 1-1. They're coming off of that brutal loss to Louisville last week here in the Dome. The one constant for the Orange so far this year has been the play of the quarterback, Eric Dungey.
Eric Dungey's almost like a point guard in basketball, Doug. Appropriate in the house that Jim Boeheim built. That is, he distributes the ball to somebody on every play, and every once in a while, he gets a chance to take a long shot.
And typically, the long shot goes to number 7 in Orange, Amba Edetawo. He is in his first and only year with Syracuse as a graduate transfer from the University of Maryland, and he has been sensational. When we come back, it's the opening kickoff at the Carrier Dome between Syracuse and USF on homecoming at the Dome. Back inside the Carrier Dome, Syracuse and USF just about set to kick things off. These two old Big East rivals, now Syracuse in the ACC, USF in the AAC, the American Athletic Conference. And one of the better teams in that league, quite likely Houston is the team to beat, but USF is not far off the pace with a dynamic offense. The game captains are out on the field. Palmer, Pennant, and Thomas, the game captains today for Syracuse. And there's the head coach for USF, Willie Taggart, in year number 4. He's a Western Kentucky graduate, 1998, and he is a former excellent quarterback who has himself an excellent quarterback this year in Quentin Flowers. And there's the first-year head coach for Syracuse, Dino, 1984 graduate of the University of Hawaii. And actually, during his days in college, he played linebacker, safety, and running back. San Diego native, Navy brat, and he is looking to get this Syracuse football program headed back in the right direction. Well, this USF football program only dates back 21 years. They've only been at the highest level of 1A football, or now FBS football, since 2000. This is the 10th meeting between these two programs. Most of them came as Big East rivals. USFL has never lost in this building, 4-0 all time when coming up to the Carrier Dome from Tampa.
They got their program off to a very fast start, Doug, and then it faded after that. But they're having a real resurgence right now.
Emilio Nadelman will kick things off for USF. He's a 5'6" junior from Miami. Perfect through 2 games of the season, a couple of field goals, 14 for 14 on PATs. Also handling the kickoff duties, Jordan Fredericks and Sean Riley back deep for the Orange, standing on their own goal line. Syracuse in their blue tops, orange pants. USF in their road whites. And we are underway, week 3, as Riley will run it out. A true freshman from Southern California gets tripped up at the 21-yard line.
Perfect kickoff, Doug, right where a kick team wants to put the ball. That is in the corner of the field, right on the goal line, which forces a run back, doesn't allow the receiving team to take a touchback, move the ball further out. They got the type of kick and the type of coverage they wanted.
The offensive coordinator you just saw break the huddle, Sean Lewis. He is a co-offensive coordinator with Mike Lynch. And Al, get our audience ready for what we're about to see in terms of the speed and tempo of this new Syracuse attack.
Well, that's their #1 criteria. How fast can we go?
The quarterback, Eric Dungy, sophomore from Lake Oswego, Oregon, hands to Strickland on the first carry. Dante Strickland moves the pile out to the 29.
That's the type of push that did not occur to the South Florida defensive line in the first 2 games. A positive start.
Second down and 2. Again, Syracuse keeps it on the ground, finding the hole. Strickland, and that's a first down for the Orange. And we have already seen on 2 plays, Al, pretty much more offense running the football than Syracuse had in the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, they're going to go real fast here, Doug.
First and 10 from the 36.
To the air. There's Amba Edetawo, couldn't haul it in.
What we'll see throughout the course of the game is this 3 receivers to the wide side of the field and 1 receiver into the sideline, almost always Edetawo. And when he's over there isolated one-on-one, Dungy will frequently go to him as he just did.
Second down and 10 from the 35-yard line. And now with Strickland in the backfield with him, Dungy will take a little time off the play clock, which is down to 15. Quick screen pass is Steam. Brisley Esteem makes the catch. Incomplete, though. And that'll bring up third down and 10 off the incompletion. Well, there's the setting the tempo that Dino Babers has done last year at Bowling Green, and then the start here at Syracuse, trying to snap that football just as quickly as possible.
But they don't always play fast. They get to the line of scrimmage fast, Doug, and often assess the defense as they're doing right now. So they saw a pressure call. They changed the play.
Third and 10, pass complete to Strickland. Has a couple of blockers, drags the tackler just shy of the first down marker. He was stopped at the 45. And Ronnie Hoggins with the tackle.
The way to beat pressure is with a screen pass. It's all or nothing on that screen. They're going for it on 4th and a foot.
Dungy tries to move just far enough to get that yard, and now the whistles blow and they will unstack the pile. Coming out of it, Vincent Jackson says that it's USF ball.
Official timeout for a measurement.
Doug, that's a good scouting job by the USF Bulls. That is, Dungy rarely gets under center. Almost everything is a direct snap to him. But when he gets under center on a short yardage play, it's almost 100% a quarterback sneak. The Bulls were well prepared for that. They stacked the lineup. He got very little movement.
And the hope, if you're Syracuse and the way Dino Babers plays and the way he did at Bowling Green, is to catch the defense not ready for a 4th down conversion there, right, Coach?
Well, that's the intent, but, you know, after a while, everything gets on video. We used to say, hey, they got video machines, too. And you see what the other team has, and you can get prepared for it.
It looks like by the nose of the football, it is a first down, Syracuse.
Now, this is the type of situation where Syracuse often likes to take a shot.
And so it's second first down for Syracuse. Strickland again now with his 3rd carry of the ball game with 18 yards, picking up 3 there. Second down and 7, Syracuse. Deidrin Sanat.
The 2 formations that Syracuse is going to feature is the 3-by-1 that we just saw and this double stack that they're in right now, which comes from Baylor.
And the reason it comes from Baylor is because Dino Babers comes from Baylor as well. Strickland was bounced back but got enough yardage for a first down. Syracuse keeping the football on the ground to great success. Stack to the left, Brisley Esteem and Amba Edetawo. Instead, Syracuse keeps it on the ground with Strickland. And a gain of about 2.
The Bulls like to run a lot of line slants. On that particular case, they brought the outside linebacker off the slot and slanted away from him and into where the play was, and that's how they were able to stack it up.
Now, so far today, Syracuse trending differently, not nearly as many passes. And again, it's Strickland up the middle. The 5'11" sophomore from Dayton, New Jersey, with not a lot of room to run. The USF defense starting to sniff that out.
The Bulls are really strong at the inside defensive tackle positions. They got a rotation of 4 powerful guys in there.
Well, the starters are Bruce Hector and Deidrin Sanat. And flags are down before the snap.
False start. Offense. Number 1. 5-yard penalty. They're down.
That's a false start on Brisley Esteem, the senior wide receiver.
Right, and a critical mental error. That is, wide receivers, Doug, do not go on the play cadence. They go on the snap of the ball. That's all they're supposed to be tuned into. They look at the ball. They don't listen to sound. He obviously was not looking at the ball.
So 3rd down and 13 from the USF 45. Strickland goes in motion right. Dungy with plenty of time, going deep over the middle. And there is a flag for interference. Steve Ishmael, last year's top receiver for Syracuse, was battling downfield with Nate Godwin, who got whistled for the personal.
Automatic first down.
Doug, this is an oversimplification, but the Syracuse passing game is based on 2 things: screens and seams, that is vertical routes. And the first 2 passes they have thrown today, 1 screen and 1 vertical seam.
Syracuse 1st and 10 from the South Florida.
There's a look at Godwin. He plays the striker or nickel linebacker position, senior from Tampa, Florida. 4-year starter all conference, but he picks up a big penalty that moves Syracuse down to the 30. 8th carry of the game already for the Orange. And again, it's Strickland. Well, in the game last week against Louisville, there were too many 3-and-outs for the Syracuse offense, which certainly, Al, did not help the Syracuse defense in slowing down Lamar Jackson and the Cardinals. Amba Edatawo slips the first tackler and picks up, well, almost first down yardage, tackled by Nigel Harris. But for Syracuse, is this a change in the offensive game plan that might help the defense ultimately?
It certainly will do that if they can sustain it, but more than anything, they just need to run more.
Which is exactly what Dino Babers is doing. Strickland is the workhorse, and he is very near a first down. And indeed, it is a first down. For Dante Strickland, this, Al, is the first time he has been playing a traditional running back role since Pop Warner. He was a wing in high school, last year playing in the different system, the hybrid under then Coach Schaefer, and now getting a chance to be a traditional running back.
He's getting a little rest now that Mo Neal has come in the game.
O'Neal, the freshman. Dungy's pass over the head of Amba Edatawo. Jamon Thomas on the coverage for the Bulls.
Dungy had the option there, Doug, on a series of plays that coaches refer to as RPO. That is run-pass option. He had an option to hand it off to Neal or to throw to Edatawo on the slant. His choice all the way.
Mo Neal. Dungy tries to stiff arm Nigel Harris, who was not having any of it. That is a terrific linebacker making a great play for USF.
Nigel Harris has got a lot of flexibility. He's athletic. He's got quick feet. He flows to the play. He's got very good range as a linebacker, which is what is required against these spread offenses.
Nigel Harris in 2014 as a sophomore led the nation with 6 forced fumbles. Last year the numbers were down. This year, though, the senior from Tampa out of Hillsborough High School has been very good. Over the middle, in that seam, a diving catch. Touchdown, Syracuse. Irvin Phillips from 19 yards out, and the Orange on the board first.
An exciting start, a very positive, confidence-building drive for the Orange. And Dungy really zinged that ball in there, and he put it down below the waist of the receiver, where only the receiver could get his hands on it. The defender, who was close to him, had no chance to go down to the target area of the throw. Very nicely done by Eric Dungy.
And so the kicking unit for Syracuse on the field, Cole Murphy, the place kicker, Sterling Hoffrichter, the punter, will hold. And it's 7-0 Syracuse. Well, the traditional football axiom is set up the pass with the run. That's not been the Syracuse way this year until this drive. The run sets up that beautiful 19-yard touchdown pass.
missed the kick. It's out of bounds. The ball comes out to the 35-yard line. It's like a 35-yard run back.
And so this dynamic USF offense gets its first opportunity. First time any of these players from USF have played inside a dome. They came and had a walkthrough yesterday. Quentin Flowers is the centerpiece, junior quarterback from Jackson High School in Miami. He had a program record 22 touchdown passes a year ago, 6 so far this year among the national leaders. And there is his top weapon, Marlon Mack, out of the backfield. They call it the 9-5 offense. Number 9 Flowers to number 5 Marlon Mack.
Marlon Mack out as a wide receiver. He's such a versatile player. Run, catch, even block for the quarterback on called quarterback runs. He's going to be fun to watch all day long, Doug.
Yeah, he is 6 foot 210, a junior from Sarasota, Florida, out of Booker High School. And he gets the handoff, going to be dropped near the first down marker. Caton Samuels, sophomore defensive tackle for the Orange, made the hit. And it is a first down for the Bulls. We talk about the pace of the Syracuse offense. USF no slowpoke either. Flowers going deep. He's got a man but overthrew him. And it falls to the turf, incomplete. Once again trying to find Marlon Mack.
Doug, both of these teams can go especially fast here in the early stage of the game because they've got the first 12 to 16 plays scripted. They're already written down. Nobody's got to do any thinking. Just read it right off the sheet of paper and go at warp speed.
Well, they call it the Gulf Coast offense. 9 different Bulls through the first 2 weeks have scored touchdowns. That is remarkable balance. Flowers tripped up at midfield by a Syracuse defender who remains on the carpet. And that is Caton Samuels, who has yet to get up, one of the leaders on this defensive unit for Syracuse.
Doug, as substantial as the margin of defeat was last week for the Orange when they played Louisville, they still scored 28 points. So offense necessarily isn't the question. It's overall game management, how you frame the overall game, offense, defense, special teams, but most particularly the play of the defense. That's going to tell the story here today if this defense plays better.
Well, an already depleted Syracuse defense may have just taken another hit. We'll talk about that when we come back to the Carrier Dome. Starting defensive tackle Caton Samuels, a sophomore from Ellenwood, Georgia, has just been helped off the field after suffering an injury, and here's how it occurred. Little friendly fire from his own teammate coming in to help make that tackle. Unfortunately, Samuels did not get up, and the Syracuse defense has to go a little further into that depth chart. USF now 3rd down and 7 from their own 48-yard line. Quentin Flowers, time to throw, and it's incomplete. Appeared to go through the hands of the intended receiver, Rasheen Bronson.
When Flowers is inaccurate with the ball, Doug, it's usually low. And one of the reasons that our main reason that it's low is if he fails to set his feet. If his footwork is erratic, he's not in proper balance. And that's what happened on that particular play.
And Al, we have seen this year in their first 2 games, Flowers seems to be much more accurate with the deep ball than the shorter ball. And why might that be?
Well, mostly it's because he's had the type of protection that allows him to sit comfortably in the pocket and air it out. But he is a very accurate deep ball thrower. And you're exactly right, Doug. Most of his misses have come on short balls.
Jonathan Hernandez punts for USF, and it's a beauty. Sean Riley calls for the fair catch. The crowd here at the Dome wants a penalty flag. The coverage was a little bit close, but nothing doing, and so Syracuse will take over for the second time. Let's see if the strategy, Al, is similar to what we saw on their first possession, running the football first to set up the pass.
This type of field position right here might take them off the script a little bit. Sometimes a team has to get off the pre-planned script to deal with a field position situation. Here's this double stack. The intent is to spread the defense out and let the quarterback decide whether it should be a run or a pass.
Esteem and Editawo left. That play seemed to be busted from the start. Strickland gets his 10th carry of the ball game already for a short gain of 3.
Quickly turn it into a 3-by-1 formation, and I mean quickly.
With the play clock just under 30, Syracuse snaps the football. Dungey, quick strike. Edatawo, ridden out of bounds by Ronnie Hoggins, and that's a Syracuse first down.
We spoke of Dungey as a point guard, distribute the ball, and that was one of those type of plays. With 3 receivers into the sideline now, this is often one of those screen plays.
They come to that triple wide receiver set. Edatawo had nowhere to go. Double teamed by Augie Sanchez.
Tackle made by number 43, Augie Sanchez. No gain on the play. Second down and 10.
So no gain on the completion. Second down and 10 from the Syracuse 19. Again, triple receivers to the left. Dante Strickland.
Whenever they slow it down, Doug, they're assessing the defense from the press box and sending a call in.
Strickland tries to follow the lead block, couldn't find much room. Picks up 3. Dietrich Nichols on the tackle.
Very impressive for the Bulls throughout the first 2+ games has been the play of their corners in the open field. They're really good open field tacklers, and Nichols stepped up and did exactly that on that play.
Yeah, Hoggins, Godwin, Abraham, Nichols, Thomas, some of those players you're talking about, Coach. Dungey going up top down the left sideline. Edatawo able to pull it in. He outfought Hoggins for that football, and it's another big gainer for the Orange.
Well, Dungey knows he's got a size advantage. The one thing about the Bulls secondary is 5 of the players who will play there are 5'10" or shorter. Edatawo at 6'1", 6'2", has got a great height advantage.
Bad snap. Dungey picks it up. Throws over the middle. He's got a man. It's Esteem to the 10, the 5. Touchdown.
The Orange are playing to form. That is, after a long pass play, they frequently go really, really fast with a small series of plays. It's either going to be a perimeter screen or a vertical seam pattern. It doesn't vary very much. They knew exactly what they wanted to do. They've got a single code word to activate the play, and they caught the Bulls disorganized and out of communication.
Touchdown reception for the senior from Delray Beach, Florida, makes it 13-0. Cole Murphy back on for the PAT, and he's 2 for 2 so far here today. Grizzly Esteem with his 2nd touchdown of the young season as Syracuse comes in as a 2-touchdown underdog against the Bulls. Well, they've got a 2-touchdown lead with 6:40 remaining here in the first quarter. So far, it has been a happy homecoming here at Syracuse University. The Orange off to a quick start, and the offense has been doing its job. Eric Dungey, the quarterback for Dino Babers, 7 of 10 passing, 122 yards and 2 touchdowns, including a beautiful throw and catch to Grizzly Esteem, and that brings the kickoff from the Orange and Cole Murphy. USF, Rodney Adams brings it out near the 25-yard line, and that's where USF will get the football for a second time, Al.
Rodney's a very dynamic player. He's their fastest wide receiver. He's their greatest deep ball threat, and a kickoff return man who obviously runs it up in there with abandon.
Yeah, Willie Taggart's done a good job with transfers, and most of these guys are from the Tampa Bay area, went away to school, and have come back. And so Rodney Adams played at Toledo and transferred back. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, their 6'5" wide receiver, is a North Carolina State transfer. Here's Adams, able to slip the first tackle. Then he loses the football. Looks like the Bulls got it back. Dangerous for Adams to spin without being able to see the second hit coming.
Oh, well, it was a jarring hit, and that's what knocked the ball loose. Sometimes it's loose mechanics that cause the ball to come out. That was the force of the hit that knocked it out of there.
The ball was recovered by Rasheen Bronson, a junior from Fort Myers, Florida. Flowers going deep, and nothing happening there. Well, we talked about Amba Edatawo for Syracuse, Al, having a size advantage over the defensive backs. On this side of the football, USF's wide receivers across the board have a size advantage.
Most definitely they do. They also have a speed advantage, but that play was well defended by forcing the receiver right up against the sideline. There was no chance for Flowers to lay it in there. Syracuse late getting their call in. They're still looking at the defensive coordinator.
Empty backfield for Quentin Flowers, the co-captain of the USF Bulls. Pass complete. Out of bounds goes Tyree McCants near the marker for a first down. He comes up about a couple of feet short, so now 4th down. And what will the Bulls do?
At this point in the game, whether they make it or not, that's what Willie Taggart has made the correct call, Doug, because he can't do anything to put his team in danger of going further behind this early in the game. As much as he would like to go for it, he can't afford to do that.
And so the punting unit is on. And how about the Syracuse defense after getting torched by Louisville last week? Consecutive 3-and-outs, although now we have a whistle and a flag back near where the return man Sean Riley was standing at the 23-yard line.
Illegal substitution. Defense. 5-yard penalty.
We saw a number of Syracuse defenders sprinting for the sideline at the last second, and apparently they did not reach the sideline in time, and so USF by penalty gets its first down of the afternoon.
Right. Sometimes in those cases from the sideline, okay, you just have to say we can't get him in there on time and leave the group that's out there. Every defensive group, even if it's not the punt return team, has a defensive call to deal with that situation. Gives life to the Bulls when they really didn't earn it.
Well, 2 possessions for USF. They've only possessed the football for 1:15, but that extends thanks to the penalty. And Mack, another fumble. Looks like the Bulls got it back. Chris Slayton, the sophomore from University Park, Illinois, 6'4", 296, blew that one up.
He slanted the gap between the guard and the center. Mack had no chance to get started.
A loss of 6 on the play. Flowers tucks the football, and Syracuse was ready. That's the defensive captain for the Orange, linebacker Zaire Franklin.
Franklin's the middle linebacker. He smelled that one out. That was the 4-receiver diamond stack out here to the right. You just knew they were going to run a supplemental play to what they did the first time. Franklin was ready for it. Now on 3rd down and long, we would expect a zone here, probably the popular Tampa 2 that Syracuse loves to play in this situation.
Dearness Johnson, the running back in the backfield, as Flowers looks to pass. Steps up and fires on the move, but it's incomplete. Tyree McCants, the intended receiver, and so the punting unit comes back out for USF as that Syracuse front 4 continues to apply some pressure.
Well, there was some pressure, but not enough to make Flowers leave the pocket. Okay, he flushed out of there unnecessarily, and what we saw there, Doug, was by moving out of the pocket without having to, he was never really set. There's that inaccuracy because of his footwork and out of balance.
Hernandez boots it away. Riley calls fair catch, and Syracuse gets the football back on top 14-0 with 4:13 remaining in the first quarter. Well, the sophomore quarterback for the Orange, Eric Dungy, off to a terrific start. This was his last drive. Amba Edetawa with the terrific catch, and then they just kept moving the football from there, Coach.
Well, every completion, all 7 of his completions so far, as mentioned earlier in the broadcast, Doug, have been a screen or a seam. That's the heart of the Orange offense, along with some inside running.
Total yards for the Orange 161, only 24 for the Bulls. Starting with a run play again is Syracuse, and again they pick up positive yardage thanks to Strickland, who has been the workhorse so far here in the quarter. Deidrin Sanat, the big defensive tackle, brings him down.
Sanat's a load, and they ran right at him and controlled them. That's a positive sign.
Up the middle, huge hole to the 40, out to the 45, and Strickland is having his biggest game of the year.
Right, the Orange are in a nice rhythm, as we've seen. Run inside, throw the screens, go vertical.
Another running play, another Strickland run. And again, he carries a couple of defenders into USF territory, tackled at the 48-yard line. Augie Sanchez among those in on the tackle.
Well, this Orange offensive line, Doug, has come to play. Okay, they obviously want to make a statement, and they have done that so far in the early going of this game.
And they had to change at center. Their leader, Jason Emmerich, out with an injury, and so Colin Byrne has gotten the start, and he's been in the middle along with Amari Palmer, Jamar McGloster, Aaron Roberts, Cody Conway. As you say, Coach, they've been doing a nice job opening holes.
Syracuse is in their empty formation. They really like this formation.
5 receivers out. Lots to choose from for Dungy, and he throws it out of bounds. Edatawo well covered that time by Hoggins.
And that pattern right there, without having the time to describe it, Doug, is as core to this offense as an inside running play. They just assess the stretch of the defense where there's an opening. They run it frequently. No surprise to the Bulls. They were all over it, forcing the overthrow. Here's the same empty formation, but we'll get a different pattern on 4th and 4.
Dungy. Let's see if he's just trying to draw USF off sides. Play clock down to 6, and they will go for it on 4th down. Pass caught at the 40, and the Orange moves the chains. Irvin Phillips.
Very simple pattern. Phillips just ran down to the sticks, turned around. It was a zone defense. The Bulls really need to be in man for man at that time.
From under center, Dungy, quick screen pass. Esteem goes head over heels at the 32-yard line. Another good pickup on 1st down. Ronnie Hoggins with the tackle. Syracuse moving the football for the 3rd time this quarter. Dungy with a pair of TD passes already.
See, here's the different tempo, Doug. Now they line up, but assess the defense. It goes slower.
Strickland takes the handoff, makes a cut outside, and then driven back. But his forward progress should be another Syracuse 1st down.
Syracuse is alternating their backs. They know they've got a long ways to go. They want to keep fresh legs throughout. Mo Neal is in the game.
Mo Neal giving Dante Strickland a blow. He already has a new career high single game rushing. Much more prudent play there by Dungy to slide, as opposed to the leap we saw last week against Louisville, where he almost landed on his head.
He's a better slider than he is leaper, for sure.
Gain of 4, 2nd down and 6. He's got Mo Neal in the backfield with him. Esteem turns, faces the defense, and able to pick up positive yardage on 2nd down, ridden out of bounds by Jamon Thomas.
All these wide receiver screens, Doug, they're just catch the ball and run. Okay, the ball gets snapped to the quarterback. He gets it right out of his hands. It's catch it, throw it. And that forces the wide receivers to be blockers on this team as much as they are ball catchers.
Phillips, Esteem, and Edatawo left. The ball goes right to Mo Neal. And that'll bring up another 4th down. Syracuse has gone for 4th down a couple of times already. And with an injured Bull on the field, what do you think here, Coach? Is it a field goal opportunity for Syracuse, put some points on the board, or go for it on 4th down?
No, they're controlling the momentum right now. Okay, to go up with some more points. At this point, keep adding to the scoreboard. Get more points up there. Now, all that depends upon how much confidence they have in their kicker. Okay, frankly, I'm not at practice with him every day. Okay, he's a new kicker for this team, so part of that will go into making this decision here whether to go for it or not. But the previous 4th down play gave them the opportunity here to get points. That's what you did it for. Don't go for it on 4th down on the 50-yard line, and then at the end of the drive end up with no points.
Now that is last year's USF Freshman of the Year, Ronnie Hoggins, being helped up to a seated position, the sophomore from Coconut Creek, Florida. Slow to get up, and also a Syracuse player being helped off the field as well, and I believe that's the center, Colin Byrne. So already on the 2nd string center, the Orange is going to have to go a little deeper into the depth chart to get someone to snap the football to Eric Dungy.
You used a significant word there, Doug, that when you put your 3rd center in there, the exchange between the center and the quarterback is an issue. But when it's a shotgun snap and the ball has to be in the air, there's some guys who can convert from guard to center to be the 3rd center and snap it between their legs, but can't long snap it.
So the field goal unit will come on. Off Richter to hold. And perhaps this decision in part because the center having to come out.
Well, there are a lot of things that go into it. You raise a legitimate point.
It's a 40-yard attempt. Murphy has the distance, and it's through the uprights. 17-0 Syracuse. Well, Murphy's been good this year. He has only missed one. He was 4 for 4 against Colgate in the opener. And he is a 77% career field goal kicker, and he had that one from maybe 50 and beyond with the distance he had, Coach.
Doug, he hit that one right to the middle of the green. Okay, if he was out there on the golf course today, he's got a short putt following that one.
Well, 3 possessions and 3 scores for a Syracuse team that has the early jump on homecoming. But perhaps the big headline is that South Florida, with only 30 seconds remaining in the first quarter, is still scoreless. This is a team that was averaging over 50 points per game coming in.
You know, a lot of what we talk about with teams here early in the year, who they played early on has a bearing on things. Okay, and the Bulls played 2 teams that they really should have better personnel than, and it showed up in the results. It's a little more evenly matched today. The Cuse is doing a good job.
Rodney Adams, Dearness Johnson back deep. It's Adams who watches that kick go into the end zone. That was very close to being another out of bounds and back out to the 35. And so the Bulls will bring the offense back out and start from their own 25-yard line.
What the Bulls need to do offensively here, Doug, is just forget about the scoreboard. Okay, they really haven't gotten into their offense yet. Those plays that were in the game plan to start with should remain in there. They're not going to catch up from 17-0 on one drive. They just need to get some momentum going and find out what works.
Well, the Syracuse defense has taken plenty of hits in terms of the injury bug. We've already seen Caton Samuels have to be helped off the field, and the defensive secondary is even in worse shape. Mack breaks it out after finding no room up the middle, and he's got plenty of room down the right sideline to the 40 and dragged out of bounds at the 35 by Corey Winfield, who makes a touchdown saving tackle.
Well, that was all about Mack. The right side of the defense really jammed that up. There was no place to go. He could see that early on. He showed his skill by bringing it out to the other side, but there was no force from the Syracuse defense. An assignment error on the backside.
40 yards on that carry. And before the snap, the whistles blow.
That's the end of the first quarter.
End of the first quarter. Well, that first 15 minutes was all about Syracuse. USF, though, on the move, down 17-0. But this quarterback led Eric Dungy with 2 touchdown passes. And the folks who've come back to campus to relive their youth, enjoying themselves so far on homecoming. Back inside the Carrier Dome on homecoming, where Syracuse puts up more points in the first quarter than it has at any point in 3 years. Last time they went for this many was against Tulane in 2013, but USF is on the move. Flowers, the quarterback keeper, and consecutive long running plays have the Bulls in scoring position, Coach.
Well, that's a very similar play to the Louisville play that gave them so much trouble last week.
Quentin Flowers stands from his 35 to the end zone. The adjustment by the receiver, incomplete. Rasheen Bronson was well covered by Rodney Williams. And that brings up 3rd down and 2.
On 2nd down and short, they took the opportunity to go long with the ball, knowing that they have at their disposal 2 more downs to make a 1st down. We have a 3-receiver stack over here. This should be a double screen.
Flowers complete. Adams. He's got room to the 15, to the 10, to the 5. And there is that speed for the Bulls, who get on the board.
Rodney Adams showed his speed with that empty formation, receivers stacked on both sides. It's a wide receiver screen on either side. Flowers' choice which way to go. He wisely went to the wide side of the field to his fastest man. Okay, Adams just won the matchup.
Well, Al, Rodney Adams now has touchdowns in 10 of his last 12 games.
He's a touchdown maker, that's for sure. It might not be the last one we see today. There'll be a lot of points up here today before this is over, Doug.
Well, last week against NIU, as Nadelman is on for the PAT. And it is good. Adams torched the Huskies last Saturday. A couple of touchdowns, a 26-yard catch and an 11-yard touchdown run. Here, number 87 in white takes the screen and able to outrun the orange defenders. Syracuse's lead is back down to 10. Back inside the Carrier Dome, 17-7 after the USF Bulls get themselves on the board. The pass completion to Rodney Adams, and after being shut out in the first quarter, the Bulls quickly on the board. With former New York Jets head coach Al Groh, I am Doug Sherman. So glad you could be here with us for this matchup of two old Big East Conference rivals. Sean Riley accepts the kick, and gets out to near the 20-yard line. And that's where Eric Dungy will come out after the tackle by Austin Hudson for USF.
The key number to this point here, Doug, is on conversion downs, third or fourth down. In the first period, the Bulls were 0 for 3. They couldn't stay on the field. And the Syracuse Orange were 4 for 6. They could stay on the field. As a result, in that quarter, there was a tremendous disparity in the amount of offensive snaps for the two teams.
Now, a few minutes ago, we saw the backup center, Colin Byrne, be helped off the field. Jason Emmerich, the starting center for Syracuse, is unavailable today because of injury as well. And so now let's see who is out there snapping the football. Is it 64? It is indeed Byrne. And he has a good snap. Syracuse on first down with another good pickup by keeping it on the ground with Dante Strickland.
Strickland kind of imitated the bounce off the pile and find an opening run that Mack made earlier. Nice job by Strickland.
9-yard gain. That's 84 yards rushing already this afternoon by Strickland. Dungy on a design run. Gets near the first down, and he's got it. Syracuse moves the chains despite the tackle made by Vincent Jackson. There's a good look at number 64, Colin Byrne from Coral Springs, Florida. Strickland met this time at the line of scrimmage, nowhere to go.
Well, there's a lot of action evolving around the center and the two guards in the Syracuse offensive line. That's where almost every running play has been. A lot of it's directed at the two defensive tackles, Sinnott and Bronson, and they're getting their work in today.
Pitch, Strickland with a little waggle, able to pick up 4 yards. Augie Sanchez, the junior captain from St. Petersburg, Florida, with another tackle. He came into the ball game with a team high 20 tackles, including 13 last week against Northern Illinois. Dungy, pass complete. Wrapped up quickly is Irvin Phillips, but not until he's got another first down.
Yeah, excellent anticipation by Dungy. That is, he threw the ball to a spot where he knew the receiver was going to be open and let him run to it, as opposed to just throwing it at the receiver, and that let the receiver continue to separate from the defender.
Al, Syracuse has snapped the football 35 times already, 21 runs, 14 passes.
Well, that's an excellent distribution, and that's really what they need to keep balance in their offense.
And another run, and once again it's Strickland who is getting closer to the century mark with over 12 minutes remaining in this second quarter.
We're going real fast here. It'll be a fairly simplistic play.
Second down and 7. Strickland again, and this time he is leveled by Sanchez.
But these two runs back to back, Doug, have allowed them to control the sticks and put it in a makeable third down. The Bulls now put 4 fresh rushers in here on third down to go to more of a sub-type defense.
Tight end Kendall Moore has come into the game. Mo Neal has replaced Strickland in the backfield. Dungy gives to Neal. Dives straight ahead for a couple of yards. He'll be 2 yards shy of a first down.
It looks like they plan to go for it on 4th down, 4th and 4.
Grizzly Esteem back out of the field. He goes to the slot left.
This calls for man from the Bulls. Their zone in this circumstance has not been effective. Now that they have time while the offense is gathering, make the man-for-man call.
Dungy, read option, going to throw it. Over the middle, incomplete, in and out of the hands of Ishmael, and the USF defense holds. Good coverage by Ronnie Hoggins, and the Bulls get the football back down 10.
The Bulls have the ball in excellent field position, obviously. Okay, it's fun to go for it on 4th down. That's what the fans want to do. But I think really the prudent call in that circumstance with a 10-point lead early in the game against a high-scoring team with a defense that has been shaky a week ago, kick it down there and give them a field position to work with.
Well, Al, during your days as head coach at both Virginia and Wake Forest, were you ever as aggressive on 4th down as we've seen out of Syracuse so far here today as USF throws on 1st down? Pass completed to Rysheem Bronson.
Not to skip your question there, but what we saw, Doug, was even with a little pressure in the pocket, Flowers stood there, feet underneath his pads, perfect balance, and he drilled that one, so all the receiver had to do was put his hands up.
First and 10 at the 36. Flowers finds the man in the seam. It's Elkanah Dillon. And it's another USF first down. The Bulls are on the move. Big first down from the big tight end out of Fort Myers. Quarterback Keith Flowers, and he is dropped at the 16-yard line. Zaire Franklin, the junior from Philadelphia, with another tackle.
And the significant thing here in between plays is Adams, who's been out of the game, is back in the game at wide receiver for the Bulls.
He is number 87. Rysheem Bronson, number 81, goes in motion. And Marquez Valdez-Scantling is all the way wide right. We have yet to call his name. Marlon Mack goes in motion on the sweep. Quarterback keeps Flowers inside the 10. Tackled at the 3. Another USF first down. Cordell Hudson made the stop, and the Bulls quickly get up to the line of scrimmage. And the Syracuse defense is scrambling just a bit. Flowers gives Mack up the middle. Touchdown, USF.
Another quick strike drive by USF, highlighted by a big play to start the drive and a vertical seam pass of their own to get them down there. Was a short drive, less than 50 yards, made possible by that 4th down play.
There's the touchdown run by Marlon Mack. The junior from Sarasota, Florida, makes the score 17-13. And just like that, the Bulls are back in this football game after the PAT by Emilio Nadelman. How will Syracuse respond? They get the football when we come back on Homecoming at the Dome. With Al Groh, I'm Doug Sherman. Welcome back inside the Dome in Syracuse. South Florida, after a couple of punts and really not moving the football at all, now, Al, all of a sudden have no problem moving the ball.
They have been explosive all year long, and they're back in that mode right now.
Sean Riley accepts the kick. Out across the 15, trips to the 20, and that's where the Orange will take over. Here's how the second drive ended for USF.
Right, Coach Taggart is talking to Flowers right here and probably telling him, look, just trust your mechanics. You're out of balance. Your footwork is sloppy. Okay, just go back to doing it the way that you practice all the time. Okay, you've got enough arm to get the ball there. Don't let the rest of your body cause the inaccuracies.
And now that's a former record-setting quarterback for the Hilltoppers, Western Kentucky. talking to a record-setting quarterback here for the Bulls. He knows what he's talking about, and Flowers heeds his warnings. Into the ball game, Neal, and the freshman from Gastonia, North Carolina, on first down. Gets the football out to about the 23. Dungy fires. Pass complete. Irv Phillips turns and gets a Syracuse first down.
The Syracuse Orange, they'll run that play 15 times in the game if the defense will give it to them. They'll keep looking for it. The Bulls have got to line up closer to these receivers. Here we go again.
On the slant, incomplete, intended for Phillips. Looked like the play was there, just to pass off the mark.
What the Bulls have got to do on defense with that play, Doug, they've got to make it a more competitive play. For the quarterback to catch a direct snap, get it out of his hands and throw it. That's just pitch and catch. It's non-competitive defense.
Well, there's going to be a false start on the center. Colin Burns started to snap the football and then stopped.
False start. Offense. Number 64. 5-yard penalty. Second down.
Well, we've talked about the defensive injuries for Syracuse. USF playing without some of its key players as well. Mike Love, a defensive end, is out with a concussion. Malik Dixon, a safety, out for the season with shoulder surgery. And then Khalid McGee also out with an ankle injury. Dungy trying to make him pay. Pass complete at the 42. Amba Edatawo still on his feet to the 27-yard line. It's a first down, Syracuse.
Yeah, that was really a slick play call from the Syracuse bench. They put 3 wide receivers into the sideline, which isolated Edatawo, their most dangerous receiver, out to the wide side of the field with a lot of space to work. He's got a height advantage on the corners out there. The corner was playing off coverage, which again made it an uncontested, easy throw and catch.
Play,
and then he used, this is a difficult guy to tackle in the open field.
Unnecessary roughness, hitting a player outside of the play.
After the play, Brisley Esteem has been called for a personal foul.
First down and 10.
Unnecessary roughness. Meanwhile, slow to get up for USF. Jamon Thomas. And now he is able to walk off the field under his own power. Watch the right side of your screen, and Esteem is number 1.
Well, at 5'9", 183, he doesn't get too many opportunities for roughness. And so he took his blind shot right there. And that's what the rules are for. Okay, that's a good safety rule right there that protects a player away from the play, from being unnecessarily hit and perhaps being injured. Just a foolish play on Esteem's part.
And Thomas was the one who was slow to get up. He is on the sideline now. The first down stands, then they mark the penalty back to the 43-yard line. O'Neal goes in motion for the Orange. Dungy going to keep. Flag down. He's still on his feet. First down territory, but we'll see if it stands. Danny Thomas made the tackle for USF.
Eagle shift. Offense. Number 21, number 3, moving at the same time.
So that's on O'Neal, who was the motion man. And back-to-back penalties push the Orange back to the USF 48-yard line.
That play will go into the books as a quarterback run, Doug, but it was another one of those run-pass options. So the quarterback looks out there. If he likes the look out here on the perimeter screen, he can throw it out there. Otherwise, if there are no linebackers in the middle, he runs the draw. There are no linebackers now.
Dungy, a lot of time to throw, throws the spiral into the hands of the defender. With the interception is Jate Fullwood. Fullwood spins at the 40. And that drive for Syracuse started going backwards 3 plays ago, and then they turn it over to the Bulls.
Well, Fullwood was playing deep safety on the right side. The receiver was running a seam route from the slot on the left. Fullwood was in zone coverage, Doug. He just read the quarterback's eyes, who stared the receiver down, made an excellent break on the ball and caught it at its highest point. Esteem missed the tackle on that. That was a time perhaps for a little more roughness on his part, not on the previous play.
Just the second interception thrown by Dungy this year. Tajay Fullwood with the pick and the nice return, and the Bulls down 3 have the football at their own 43-yard line. Throwing with an open man, incomplete. There's contact, and there is the flag. D'Ernest Johnson has thrown for a couple of touchdowns last season. They gave him the football and let him air it out. The running back pass results in a penalty against Carl Jones, a freshman in the Orange secondary.
There is no foul for pass interference. Second down.
Well, that's pretty good range for a running back to be able to throw the ball that far.
Well, D'Ernest Johnson is a power back with excellent ball skills, and Coach Taggart uses him on occasion to throw the football because of that arm. And now he comes out, but because of the flag, they say it was offensive pass interference. So not against Jones, it was against the receiver, Valdez Scantling. Second down and 10. Flowers keeps. Zaire Franklin in pursuit, and he drags him down at midfield.
Actually, it looks like on the previous play, Doug, they picked it up because it was simply 2nd and 10. So neither team got penalized without any explanation.
Pass is incomplete. I think the intended receiver, Darius Tice, thought that there was another receiver behind him, so he let the football go since it was thrown a little bit high. And there you see Quentin Flowers saying, no, that pass was for you. And so Hernandez and the punt team for USF back onto the field. Sophomore from Bradenton, Florida. He's a Florida State transfer and has a big left foot. Sean Riley in a dead sprint, unable to make the catch. It goes out of bounds, and the Orange lucky there to keep possession of the football at the 10. We'll take a break with 7:04 remaining until halftime. Syracuse holding on to a 3-point lead. Good looking crowd here on homecoming at the Carrier Dome. Couple of youngsters enjoying the action so far. They saw Syracuse jump out to a 17-0 lead, but Al Groh, USF, is right back in this football game.
Well, even though there's a 3-point differential, you're exactly right, Doug. It's an even game now.
And so Syracuse brings the offense back out. Triple receivers to the right for Eric Dungy.
No width to the left, which is unusual.
Throw to the right, down to his knees to try and make the catch, Irvin Phillips. And it is a completion.
Third or fourth completion in the game on that simple little pattern.
Second down and 5.
And it creates 2nd and 5, so now it's all to Syracuse's advantage in terms of going for the sticks for a first down.
Cam McPherson into the ball game. Senior tight end from here in Syracuse. Dungy's pass incomplete. Devin Butler, freshman from District Heights, Maryland, unable to haul it in. You know, we came into the game with Irv Phillips and Amba Edatawo, both tied for 3rd in the nation at 10 receptions per game, Al, and that distribution has continued. Phillips has caught 5 passes for 55 yards. Edatawo 5 receptions for 82 yards.
Well, these guys will have a lot of catches this year because there's so many of those little passes thrown behind the line of scrimmage. The key thing for them is how many do they catch down the field.
On 3rd and 5, big pressure and sacked by Augie Sanchez.
With the incompletion, that stopped the clock and slowed down the pace of the Syracuse offense, Doug, and that allowed the Bulls to get their 3rd down pressure package called. That's really the first time they've brought Sanchez on a middle linebacker blitz, which is one of their favorite things to do. They just haven't been able to get it called beforehand. Now, Syracuse runs some unusual punt formations, okay, and here's one of them.
Sterling Hoffrichter, the punter, standing in the back of the end zone. Whistle blew right before the snap. Hoffrichter got off a beautiful punt, but they'll do it again.
Play, delay game, Offense. After this is the goal, 4th down.
Now with that kick before the penalty, Doug, Syracuse had the sufficient amount of distance between the snapper and the punter for a normal punt operation. Now that distance has been reduced. A lot of teams that would have returned the kick in those circumstances now will choose to put the punt rush on.
Dearness Johnson stands for USF at his own 46-yard line, awaiting the punt again. And now those heels of the punter Hofrichter right up against the white line. This time able to get it off under heavy pressure, but that penalty will certainly cost Syracuse because USF's taking over at the SU 43-yard line.
The Bulls defender did a really nice job that sometimes gets overlooked, and that is he came free. But what he did, Doug, is he went down for the ball, almost like a baseball player taking a headfirst slide into second. When a punt blocker goes down for the ball, they rarely rough the punter, but can still cause disruption. Real good fundamentals.
So a short field for Quentin Flowers and the USF offense. Mack in motion. Fake the handoff. Flowers keeps. Another big hole. And it's a first down for USF. Tackle made by Davon Ellison. Make that Davon Ellison, sophomore from Linden, New Jersey.
And another week of the quarterback of the opponent running for significant yardage against the Syracuse defense.
Flowers putting it in the air. Wide open. Completion at the 15, down inside the 10. Marquez Valdez-Scantling with his first reception of the afternoon.
The Orange brought the safety blitz from the right side of their defense, but it was well picked up. A nice job by Marlon Mack of steering the rusher behind the quarterback. An accurate throw all the way across the field.
Well, the Syracuse defensive secondary is decimated by injuries, and Flowers starting to take advantage. That pass incomplete through the hands of Rodney Adams. Well, we learned just a couple of days ago, Jawan Dowles, the terrific sophomore cornerback for Syracuse, is going to have season-ending knee surgery in the coming weeks. We also learned that Antoine Cordy, the junior safety, suffered a forearm injury that is season-ending against Louisville. He will undergo surgery in the coming days. And then right before kickoff, we got a note that Kylan Whitner is out for the ball game with injury. And this is a Syracuse program, having gone through 3 head coaches in the last 4 years, that has trouble with its depth. On the end around, it's an easy touchdown for Rodney Adams, and the Bulls take the lead.
That's the favorite South Florida Bulls offensive play, in which either the back or the motion receiver coming from the outside to the inside gets the ball based on the decision by the quarterback. The quarterback can give it on the sweep, keep it himself, and they pull 2 pullers from the other side. It's a multi-layered play for the Bulls. It's their favorite play. They've got a real good play-action pass. We'll see that pass before the game is over.
Second touchdown of the game for Adams. 1 receiving, 1 rushing. The kicker, Nadelman, makes it a 21-0 run for USF. From down 17 to up 4, the Bulls trying to spoil homecoming here in central New York, and the Toledo transfer is doing it for USF. His name is Rodney Adams. After being shut out in the first quarter, USF has stormed back to a 21-17 lead with 4:45 remaining in this half. And Al Groh, this is a big possession upcoming for Syracuse.
Syracuse definitely has to answer here.
Sean Riley from just inside his end zone finds a seam across the 30, spins to the 40. Rasheen Bronson able to finally make the tackle, but the 5'8", 151-pound true freshman from Playa del Rey, California, gives Syracuse a big boost.
Well, special teams stepped up, gets this start drive Now we see the tight end, the back, the right guard all pull and join the two wide receivers who do an outstanding job of blocking on the perimeter and make it fun for Adams to run the ball into the end zone.
They just kind of overwhelmed him with numbers, right, Coach?
Very definitely.
1st and 10 for the Orange. On the ground, which has been their want. Game planning today. Dante Strickland working on a career high and picks up 2 on 1st down.
Now out of this 3-by-1 set, there is isolation on the wide receiver to the single side.
Strickland again puts his head down, drags Nigel Harris for a couple of yards, and that brings up 3rd down and 4.
Double stack formation, their second favorite formation.
Passing left, complete to Esteem, and he's able to fight his way right near the marker. Jamon Thomas back on the field, and he tackles Esteem, but not until the Cuse moves the chain.
Well, that was another play in which the wide receiver really stepped up as a blocker. Etta Towell, with his size, just overwhelmed the corner and allowed Esteem to run for the 1st down.
On 1st down, maybe a yard picked up by Dante Strickland.
Tackle made by number 10,
Diedrich Sanat making the tackle. He's a young man who squats 675 pounds. Truly, he is a bull. Dungy gets wrapped up. Actually, on the tackle, he picked up a couple of yards. Josh Black, sophomore from Tampa. You look up and down this USF roster, Al. All sorts of guys from the Bay Area, and that's been a big point of emphasis in the last 4 years since Coach Taggart took over. 3rd down, design run, Dungy, and USF was ready. And again, it's Nigel Harris, the will linebacker, making a big play for the Bulls.
That's the 3rd time the Cuse has run that, and the Bulls now are recognizing it. The motion creates an empty set. The middle linebacker chases it to match up with the 3 receivers over here. Sometimes it empties the box of any linebackers. Harris has seen that enough. He said nothing doing this time. And that was a critical 1st down to make, Doug, because now the Bulls get the ball back at the end of the half with a chance to score once again with their quick strike offense.
South Florida.
South Florida, USF
this will be a 30-second
timeout.
timeout.
There's Coach Taggart. His quick strike offense you talk about, Coach, now has 10 of its 19 TD drives in under 2 minutes. So 2 minutes and 23 seconds is plenty of time.
Well, that was a very wise game management decision by Willie Taggart to call the timeout there. That is, had he not called it, another 37 seconds would have run off the clock, would have taken it down under 2 minutes. You can run a lot of plays, especially in his style of offense, Doug, during the course of 37 seconds. So those 37 seconds might provide 3, maybe even 4 more plays should USF need it to get down the field and score. And the Bulls still have 2 timeouts left.
Well, USF opened the season by beating Towson 56-20. And then last Saturday, they defeated Northern Illinois. This is their first road game of the year, playing inside the Carrier Dome for the first time. Not in program history, but for these players, they've never been here. And they have gotten their footing here in the 2nd quarter, although there the punt is dropped by Dearness Johnson. Looks like he recovers, and USF will take over with 2:15 to work with.
Tough punt to catch there, Doug. What might be difficult to see for the viewer is that it's one of those midfield plus territory end over end Australian style punts. So rather than a nice spiral, the tips of the ball are falling end over end, and punt returners are not used to catching that ball.
So let's see if USF can go 89 yards in 2 minutes and 15 seconds. The defense for USF has forced 3 straight punts, and they've turned them all into points. Big hole for Mack, and if not for the tackle, that could have gone. Divon Ellison with the stop.
Max showed his burst of speed as he went through a gaping hole over the right side, and most importantly got out of bounds, so that's a free timeout for the Bulls.
First and 10 at the 23. Quentin Flowers, junior quarterback out of Jackson High School in Miami. Back to pass. Fires over the middle, and it's caught. First down, USF. Marquez Valdez Scantling.
The same seam pass they hit earlier, and the same area of the field where the Orange were vulnerable for a lot of big plays last week. Obviously, South Florida's got a plan built around that.
Flowers rolling right. Now feeling the pressure, puts it up. Has a man, but the tight end, Dillon, unable to haul that in. And that'll bring up second down and 10.
Nice job of rush lane discipline by Syracuse. They wouldn't let him out of the pocket. That's where he really likes to go to air the ball out when pressured. They forced him into the sideline in an out-of-bounds throw.
Second down and 10. Flowers puts it up, and again looking for Dillon, who, by the way, the sophomore from Ocala, Florida, is on the John Mackey Award watch list. And if you know Syracuse football, you know John Mackey came out of this program, and he might just be the greatest tight end in college football history.
He was a wonderful, wonderful player, and both here and in the NFL, and a wonderful person.
They've tried to go to the tight end Dillon twice unsuccessfully. That brings up third down and 10. They're going to run the football, and a huge hole for Johnson. He gets the first down and across midfield.
That's 2 plays in a row that the Orange blitzed 6 defenders, full out man-for-man blitz. The first one created pressure. On the second one, they got creased.
Flowers throws, caught at the 30 to the 25. Adams again chewing up big-time yardage for USF.
And once again in the middle of the field, there's hardly been a USF completion, Doug, that has not been in the middle of the field.
And then big yards after catch again. Inside the red zone now with under a minute to play in the half. They hand the ball to Adams. Turns the corner with a blocker. Johnson gives up his body, and diving toward the pylon, it's Rodney Adams. Or rather, yes, Rodney Adams.
I haven't seen a signal yet.
Nor have I. But the Bulls seem to be celebrating and heading back to the end zone.
Well, Rodney Adams has just been spectacular in this game, and particularly on that drive. That's the same play he scored on going to the right. Going to the left, I'm sorry, previously he just scored on it going to the right, used his speed, and he was a tightrope magician going down that right sideline to get it into the end zone.
Well, the Bulls are acting as though it's a touchdown. There was no signal that we saw, and now they are reviewing to see if Adams stepped out of bounds and if he did indeed clear the pylon.
And we can see the whole platoon of blockers out in front of him, just as was the case on, as we mentioned earlier, this is the favorite play of the Bulls. Hand it to the motion man or the back, keep it by the quarterback, or else throw play action off of it. It's a dynamic series.
Last year, Rodney Adams as a junior set program records for receiving yards and touchdown receptions with 9. If this stands, it would be his second rushing touchdown of the day and third TD.
For the review, the ruling on the field stands. Touchdown.
So it is a touchdown for Adams, and the run continues for USF.
We'll see all the pullers get out in front of it. The back, the tight end, the backside guard, and the wide receivers once again doing a wonderful job out on the perimeter. The question wasn't whether he got in the end zone, Doug, but whether he stepped out of bounds before he did so.
But again, none of the officials that we saw gave any sort of signal that indeed they thought it was a touchdown.
No, I think they all put their hands in their pockets on that one.
So 28-17, again, Syracuse led 17-0 after one quarter, and the script has flipped completely. And it seems pretty clear there is green still showing between his shoe and that white sideline.
But the officials and the replay officials up here certainly did the right thing in reviewing that. Okay, it's so important. Was it a touchdown or wasn't it? You can't get that one wrong. I used to be a big proponent of replay, Doug. I think too much is reviewed now. Okay, I'm backing off of that, but scoring plays definitely should be reviewed as to the authenticity of them, and change of possession plays. That is, was it a fumble? Wasn't it? Did the right team get the ball? Then let's call the game on the field like it's played. The players got to play it on the field. Let's let the officials call the game on the field.
With 43 seconds on the clock before halftime, another return by Sean Riley. He's had a busy second quarter, stopped at the 25. Well, coming up at halftime, we'll have a conversation with John Wildhack, the new director of athletics at Syracuse University. He is an alumnus, so on homecoming we'll get his thoughts about his alma mater. Also, the Dungy brothers on SportsCenter 2 weeks ago. The quarterback, Eric Dungy, his brother, is in the service and surprised him. It's a great story. Featured on SportsCenter that night. And of course, we'll have the highlights and statistics from this first half that was all Syracuse in the first quarter and all USF in the second. With 37 seconds on the clock, Syracuse will go to the air. Complete, a steam. Penalty marker in the backfield. And let's see if they tack on after the completion that brings the football out near the 40.
It's also the play was a completed pass, personal foul, blocking the passer, defense. The 15-yard penalty added to the end of the run, first down.
Nice throw by Dungy. He just floated the ball out there to a receiver who was clearly open. He's got really good poise in the pocket, nice mechanics, Doug, and just another pass.
The number was number 99.
Thrown into an basically undefended area of the field. The Bulls have got to get up on some of these receivers and challenge the throws.
Kevin Bronson was the guilty party. Strickland still moving the tacklers with 22 seconds left. Strickland has become the first 100-yard rusher for Syracuse since the opener last year against Rhode Island, when Jordan Fredericks went for 107. And so with the timeout, Syracuse very much in position to think about taking a shot or two here, Coach.
They've got enough time to do that, but the most important thing is to get points out of this short drive that's put them on the fringe of the scoring zone, Doug. So the format right here, the template for what you want to do, is to get the ball within the field goal kicker's range to make sure you have a shot for points. You don't want the half to end up with the ball out here on the 40. Once they get within field goal range, then they can take their shots for the end zone, kick the field goal if that's what is necessary.
Here's a look at the day of Dante Strickland, coach, sophomore out of South Brunswick High School in New Jersey. He suffered a minor injury during training camp, held back just a bit, but he has really found his rhythm here against the USF defense. And as much as anything, the Syracuse coaching staff has given him the football. It's something that they didn't do that much of the last 2 weeks.
They have done that. Credit to them, and credit to the two guards inside, Conway and Roberts, and Colin Byrne, the center. They've done a really nice job.
On second down, pass incomplete. Nice job by Irv Phillips just to get his hand on the football to make sure it wasn't going to be intercepted. And so 3rd down and 5 upcoming with 18 seconds to go.
Now the necessity, as just discussed, Doug, is to use this 3rd down play to get the ball into field goal range so they can have a shot for points before the half is over.
Some confusion as to which Syracuse player was coming off. It turns out to be a steam. So 2 running backs out there, flanked out. They give it to one of them, Neal, the true freshman. He's going to throw the football. He's got the quarterback, Dungy. And Dungy got leveled at the 15-yard line on an incompletion. Tajay Fullwood broke that up. Little trickery here late in the first half.
A pretty tricky little throw between Johnson on the previous series for the Bulls, and now this pass being thrown here. We're seeing people other than the quarterback throwing it. Now with 11 seconds and 1 timeout, or I guess 2 timeouts here for Syracuse. Doug, They want to try to get the ball a little bit closer, call timeout, and get the field goal kicker out there.
Coach Augie Sanchez, the middle linebacker, did a nice job to drop back in coverage as well to make sure that was an incompletion. 4th and 5. Dungy, quick strike, first down, inside the 30. 6 seconds to go. 5. It's fumbled, and USF has the football. Clock is stopped with 2 seconds to go.
Very unfortunate for the Orange. That cost them points. The unnecessary roughness penalty by Esteem earlier in the half cost them points. These are the things that cause a team to lose. And until the Orange get them out of their system, they're going to make it hard on themselves.
Nate Ferguson came away with the football for USF. Now they are a quick strike offense, but I'm not so sure with 2 seconds to go they've got enough time here. And indeed, Flowers under center drops a knee, and an impressive second half has the Bulls heading to the locker room on top by 11.
Syracuse 17.
Just a huge turnaround. First quarter, Flowers only 8 yards passing, and then in the second quarter, Al, 143.
Well, that's what a real competitor does. You know, it's a 60-minute game. It's like a pitcher in baseball who gives up 3 runs in the 3rd inning and comes back and shuts them out the rest of the way. That's a competitive mentality that causes a guy to have confidence in himself. Everything about Quentin Flowers, Doug, projects positive energy to his teammates. Just kind of a follow me and I'll take you where we all want to go. And he really demonstrated that in the second quarter.
Indeed he did. South Florida, USF 28, Syracuse 17. Back with the Capital One halftime report right after this. Welcome back to the Capital One halftime report. Pleased to be joined by John Wildhack, the new athletics director here at Syracuse University. So we've got on homecoming Syracuse class of 1980 with Syracuse class of 1988. And I want to ask you about your days as an undergrad here. Archbold Stadium stood on this ground before the dome was built. So your first 3 years on campus, I assume you spent a lot of time here. What do you remember of old Archbold Stadium?
I spent a lot of Saturdays in Archbold Stadium. My first 3 years, it could be cold, could be a little chilly. The dome was a welcome addition. No question about that.
Now, your senior year, Syracuse played all of its home games on the road. Did you road trip out to Buffalo or down to Ithaca or down to the Meadowlands at all?
Went to Buffalo, went to the last game down at Ithaca, so did make a couple of games. But, it was a little bit of it was like something was missing in your senior year, and there's no home football games. But ultimately the result, which the dome was terrific. Well,
now the dome is 35, 36 years old, and we have learned that there's going to be a lot of money put into the facility. Where are we at with all that right now?
It's all it's in the preliminary planning stages. So there's a lot of work to be done. It's part of an overall campus framework project, but we're excited about the future and the potential of not only this facility but the entire campus and the entire footprint of the campus.
In your few months back on campus, what have your overall impressions been of the athletic department and the state of things here at Syracuse?
Well, I think there's a lot that we should be proud of. We had a great year last year. We won 2 national championships, field hockey and cross country. We're number 1 in both again. The women's championship appearance for Coach Hillsman and the women's basketball team. Great Final Four run by the men's. Women's lacrosse went to the Final Four. Men's soccer went to the College Cup, and soccer's undefeated off to a great start. As I said, field hockey's number 1 cross country. So there's a lot here to work from.
And how about the new indoor practice facility that the football program has been able to utilize?
Well, it's awesome, and it's going to be a huge boost to Coach Babers. Recruiting, it's going to be great for his players. Mac Brown, who, when he was up last week, we showed gave Mac a tour, and he said it's as nice an indoor facility as he's seen in the country. So it's something that's going to pay dividends for many years for us.
Now, from the point where you graduated from Syracuse in 1980, you worked at ESPN until just a few months ago. You know everything about television production. You worked from the ground up to an executive role. I want to turn back the clock to, I think it was September of '84, the first ever college football game broadcast live on ESPN, BYU Pitt, and you were the producer.
I was, and that was the year BYU went on to win the national championship. And they came into Pitt on opening week, and they knocked off a Pitt team was ranked in the top 10. So it was a privilege to be able to do that. Not only me, but the entire crew who did it. And then it's kind of neat that the team who came in, pulled the upset, went on to win the national championship that year in BYU.
How do your experiences at ESPN over the last 3+ decades help you as the AD here at Syracuse?
Well, I think one of the things is I was involved in college sports, in so many different ways at ESPN. So, that gave me a working knowledge and base to come here from. Plus, I'm fortunate I know a lot of people here at Syracuse on the administration staff, the athletic administration staff. So that's really helped accelerate the transition for me.
Coming from the TV side, John, what are your thoughts about the current state of college athletics as it relates to TV?
I think, you see the enormity of college football and just the popularity continue to grow. And you saw, Labor Day weekend, great games, really put the sport on the map. We've got some great games today. We got 3 top 10 teams on the road. So each week, college football is so important, and I think the playoff has been a great addition to the sport. Been a great addition, and obviously basketball. What you do in March is ultimately what really matters. And obviously, the regular season is important, but the focus on March and just the grip that the NCAA tournament has on the sporting public in March is incredible.
Well, every time those of us who went to Syracuse come back, whether it's on homecoming or any other time, you never know who you're going to see in the building. And this weekend, we have both Art Monk and Arthur Jones, a couple of former Great Orange football players back in. How important is that to you as a staff to make sure these guys are fully engaged?
Well, all our alumni, they're welcome back at any point in time. We're incredibly proud of them to have Art, who's a Hall of Famer, Arthur, who's won a Super Bowl with the Ravens, to have them back. We had Jim Brown back on campus last night, recipient of the Aaron's Award, one of the recipients, which is the highest honor the university bestows on an alum. To have him back, that speaks to the heritage, the tradition, and for them to make the effort and take the time to come back, that means that Syracuse is still a special place in their hearts.
And there are still a lot of building blocks for this university and this football program. Those are some of the college football Hall of Famers. There are 8 pro football Hall of Famers out of Syracuse. Only 3 other schools have more players and former, university students who have made it to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. There's a lot of history here at Syracuse.
There's great history. There's great tradition. We have 3 players are nominated early going this year for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Gary Anderson, who's a great place kicker here. Donovan McNabb, obviously. And Darrell Johnson, who's the best blocking fullback ever. I might be biased, but I'm sticking with that.
I can't argue with you. I was here in '87 when he was laying blocks for Michael Owens and Don McPherson, and they went undefeated. So, anyhow, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it, John.
My pleasure. Appreciate it. Thank you.
The new director of athletics here at Syracuse University, talking about Jim Brown and some of the other legends in the history of this athletic department. His Orange trailing at the admission 28-17. Back with more on our Capital One halftime report after this. Welcome back to the Capital One halftime report here at the Carrier Dome, Syracuse and USF. Prior to Syracuse's season opener with Colgate 2 weeks ago, Orange QB Eric Dungey was surprised by a very special guest upon his arrival to the Dome. Kevin Connors and Lisa Kearney pick up the story that night on SportsCenter.
We begin with the best moment from Friday night, Kevin.
I had the waterworks turned on for OKC. Your boy was looking around to make sure that no one was watching because it was powerful stuff. You will not see anything better all weekend than this. Syracuse sophomore Eric Dungey entering the Carrier Dome before tonight's game, greeted by his brother Matt. Just back from serving abroad in the U.S. Army, the two hadn't seen each other since Christmas of 2014. Matt only arrived stateside hours before kickoff. Try keeping a dry eye for that. Try playing a football game after that. But indeed, Eric did with Matt in the house. And it is so cool to be joined now by Eric and Matt Dungey here on SportsCenter. Eric's a starting quarterback, but Matt, I want to start with you. First of all, thank you for your service. Welcome home. When did you know that you were going to be back for this game?
I figured out that I was going to be here about 3 months ago, and then we started putting in action, a surprise, and I'm actually surprised myself that we were able to keep it, and I think it was really cool that it all went really well.
Eric, we've seen the video. Now I've got a pair of brothers. I think anyone who's got any siblings can relate to it in a major way. What was the moment like when you saw Matt?
Yeah, I mean, it was overwhelming. I got off the bus, and I was locked in for the game. I saw a guy, and I was like, well, that guy looks a lot like me. And I saw my parents, and, you know, I just was overwhelmed. It was awesome. I haven't seen him in years. So, I mean, he beat me up when we were younger, but, you know, made me who I am today.
Yeah, Matt, what was that moment like for you?
Oh, it was great. Actually, it was funny because we weren't actually supposed to surprise him out there. It was going to be on the field, but the bus pulled up, and so my family tried to run behind a wall, but I already saw my brother, and I wasn't just going to run behind a wall and hide. I had to go up to him. I had to say hi.
Yeah, so Eric, so you see your brother, who you haven't seen since Christmas of 2014, before the game, and then you've got to refocus to play a college football game. What was that like?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I was locked in, and then that happened. But you know, you take 10 minutes, 15 minutes out of your day. You know, there's bigger things out there than, you know, football. You know, I got family, love them. So it was awesome, but then I was able to, you know, get locked in for the game again.
Yeah, Matt, he's your bro, and he went 34 of 40 throwing the football. But I mean, what happened on those 6 incompletions?
That's what I'm saying. I'm a little upset. You know, there's a lot more opportunities out there, but I'm just happy we got the win.
Hey, listen, I'm kidding around here. Matt, what is this moment going to mean to you when you return to active service in Germany?
Oh, it just means a lot. I appreciate everyone, all the fans and all that. Everyone's been really cool to me, and it's been great to see my brother, and it's been great to actually see him play in such an environment. It's really incredible, and words cannot describe how excited I was to actually come here and experience it in person.
Well, listen, guys, take it easy at Fagans tonight. A little goes a long way, all right? So enjoy the moment, enjoy the time with your family. Eric, congratulations on the win. Matt, thank you again for your service, and thanks so much for joining us here on SportsCenter.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
What a marvelous moment a couple of weeks ago here at the Dome. And I understand that brother Matt is still here in Central New York and is at the football game tonight cheering on his kid brother. We'll take a break and come back with more of the Capital One Halftime Report right after this. Welcome back to the Capital One Halftime Report. At the Carrier Dome in Syracuse, the Orange outscored USF 17-0 in the first quarter. And as you can tell by that score, it was all USF in the second quarter. The teams are back out on the field when we come back the third quarter. Can the Orange stem the tide, or will USF run away to a 3-0 record?
Who's ready to tailgate? Yeah!
Alongside former University of Virginia head coach Al Groh, I'm Doug Sherman, back inside the Carrier Dome, just about set for the start of the third quarter between Syracuse and USF. The Bulls to receive this kickoff, Rodney Adams, number 87, Dearness Johnson. And it is the dangerous Rodney Adams, who already has 3 touchdowns, sprinting out to the 28. So now if you're the Syracuse defense coming back onto the field after what just occurred in the second quarter, Al, when USF rattled off 28 straight points, what can you do?
You have to address a few critical issues. You can't address all of them at once. And the 2 critical issues have been the perimeter runs on this combination inside gap scheme play, wide receiver sweep, and the vertical seam routes. Okay? More man-for-man coverage and more post-safety coverage would be a help in both those circumstances.
On first down, the run up the middle by Marlon Mack, who suffered a head injury in the opener for USF, missed the Week 2 game. In his stead, Darius Tyson, Dearness Johnson were both terrific. Both ran for career highs against NIU last week. But it's back to Marlon Mack as the primary running back for the Bulls. No gain on second down. Clock continues to run inbounds.
Really nice play over there on the perimeter by the Syracuse defense. They've seen that play before. That's one of the core plays in their offense. 3 wide receiver screen into the sideline. Well recognized. Chance to get off the field with some momentum for the Orange defense. All zone coverage.
Quentin Flowers, flush from the pocket, directing traffic and throws incomplete. The Syracuse defense holds the intended receiver Marlon Mack.
Syracuse was playing that Tampa 2 defense. It's a soft zone defense with everybody drops to a spot and reads the quarterback. And they ran a combination pattern to the tight end side with the tight end on a crossing route and Mack out of the backfield as the primary receiver on a short angle route. But the defense saw it and was all over it. Nice job by the Syracuse defense.
We're seeing Josh Black, a freshman defensive lineman from Loves Park, Illinois, getting a lot of reps since the injury in the first half to Caton Samuels. Fair catch, Sean Riley. And that's where the Orange will take over.
Boy, that was a boomer right there, Doug.
Yeah, Jonathan Hernandez has a legit left foot.
Boy, you're right. It was deep and it was high. And the height, as long as well as the length of the kick, made it so easy to cover and negated any opportunity for a return, and poor field position to start for the Orange.
And there's Eric Dungey coming on to the field in the first half. The sophomore quarterback from Lake Oswego, Oregon, completed 17 of his 26 passes, 1 interception, 2 touchdowns, including a 47-yarder to Brisley Esteem. And Dungey, as far as running the football, 7 times for 11 yards. Rushing play on first down, Strickland, who comes into this already having gained a 108 career-high yards in a single game, and he picks up 2 on first down.
Right, that was that same direct run, smash it up in there, just try to win one-on-one. Looked like a rugby scrum when it was over.
Low snap handled nicely by Dungey. Gets through the line of scrimmage, but then wrapped up as he tried to get to the second level. Nigel Harris and Kirk Livingstone also in on the hit. Well, Nigel Harris, number 57 in white, 4-year starter out of Tampa, Hillsborough High School. Strickland hit hard by Ronnie Hoggins, but not until it's another Syracuse first down.
We're seeing a continuation of the Syracuse game plan. Slug it up right behind the center and the guards. Throw these wide receiver screens. Here it goes again into the sideline.
That pass delivered just a little bit late, and in to break it up, Dietrich Nichols, first team preseason All-American Conference, had 4 interceptions last year, and well, he almost had a shot at this one here today.
That same route out of that same formation was completed. Nichols said, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Not going to happen.
A lot of white shirts. Dungey runs into 4 of them, takes quite a hit, and yet still picks up positive yardage.
Positive yardage, Doug, but you know, your quarterback can only take so many of those during the course of the year. And everything you do with your pass protection is designed for the quarterback not to get hit. Okay, we don't want our quarterback getting hit, okay, because it's difficult to throw the ball with sore body parts. Okay, picture this. Anybody who's played golf, picture being on the tee with sore ribs. It's going to affect your swing. Okay? Same thing is going to happen to a quarterback who gets hit too many times. So there is yardage to be gained on these run-pass options, but there are also some dangerous hits for the quarterback. Here's the isolation out there on the ex-receiver at a Tawau against Nichols.
Third down, 4 yards to go. Pump fake once. Dungey fires. It's a first down Syracuse to Irvin Phillips, who steps out of bounds at the 40.
Eric Dungey continues to show really good poise. Okay, pump fake to try to go deep on the stutter go route double move. Not there, came back underneath. He's a cool customer.
Hands it off to Strickland. Gain of 2. And I like what I saw of Eric Dungey after the loss to Louisville last week, where he stepped right up and accepted his share of the blame. You know, the offense did all right. He scored a lot of points. And yet, as a sophomore who understands I've got to be a leader of this team, he didn't point fingers anywhere but at himself. Irvin Phillips able to get out to the 46-yard line.
Well, Irvin Phillips has caught a tremendous amount of passes this year in just 2+ games, and probably 75% of them have been behind the line of scrimmage like that. So they're really not passes, Doug. They're more runs. Here's another run.
Ishmael with another Syracuse first down.
So you notice the Orange, they don't have any sweep plays or toss plays. These are their running plays to the perimeter, and they're well designed. There's nothing wrong with them. It's just another way of getting the ball out there.
Here's a good look at the junior out of North Miami Beach High School in South Florida. Dungy throws the ball away. He's outside of the pocket, so that's all right. Good pursuit by the defensive lineman, Daniel Agulokwe.
Yeah, we're seeing really right now, we're looking out there and seeing 4 new sets of numbers from what we've seen before. Bulls trying to rest some guys. Now here come their frontline guys on second down across the 50. The stop of the clock gave them an opportunity to do it.
On 2nd and 10, Dungy feeling the heat. Protects the football, throws it while going down, and it's an incomplete pass. Kirk Livingstone made him hurry that one up.
Heavy rush, a lot of guys in there. 3 guys, 1 at the line of scrimmage, but it's a real nice job by Dungy holding on to the ball. He could have been stripped. Good ball security on his part. Good job of saving the yardage.
We continue to see Cameron McPherson on the field, senior from CBA here in Syracuse. Tight end and the grandson of former Syracuse head coach and college football Hall of Famer Dick McPherson. Pass completed shy of the first down marker by about a half a yard to Editawo. Dietrich Nichols with the tackle.
3rd time the Orange have set that up by formation and against soft coverage. All right, at this particular time, how many times are the Bulls going to let them throw the ball like that? They've got to get up and match that receiver.
Dungy from the shotgun, not going to try and sneak it. Now timeout is called by Syracuse.
First charge, timeout.
We'll take a break from the Carrier Dome on homecoming. The Orange down 11. Will they go for it on 4th down? You're watching ACC ESPN Network from the Carrier Dome in Syracuse with Al Groh. I'm Doug Sherman. The Orange in the midst of a 12-play, 50-yard drive. 4th down and inches, and Syracuse is going to go for it with Eric Dungy. Now glancing over to the sideline. Maybe they won't. Still play clock, plenty of time at 12 and counting. They go for it on the ground. Strickland is going to be close, driven back, and it'll depend on the spot. Doesn't look like he got there. And indeed he was stopped. So again, Syracuse rolls the dice on 4th down, and they do not get there. A couple of players slow to get up off the turf, including Deidrin Sanat.
Yeah, that's the 5th 4th down try that Syracuse has made. You know, there hasn't been much diversity in the running game so far today. It's pretty much run the tailback straight ahead into the guard center gap, try to win with the blocks up there. Not much diversity to it, and the Bulls just muscled up on that one. They weren't going to give up a 1st down on that play, which has been run before in that situation.
Yeah, Syracuse is 2 of 5 on those 4th downs, coach. Slow to get off the field was Dante Strickland, so you could see why he colliding with big Deidrin Sanat might be a problem. So USF with the football, 10:25 remaining 3rd quarter. Gain of 3 on 1st down by Marlon Mack. Kendall Coleman, one of the young defensive linemen getting regular reps. His nickname is Bear. They're very high on him, 6'3", 252 from Indianapolis. Originally committed to Western Michigan, but after the coaching change, he decided to come east from Indy and play for Syracuse, and a starter from day one. Flowers tackled by Coleman again.
Now that's the same play that Adams scored his 2 touchdowns on, Doug. They just dressed it up so that Flowers became the ball carrier rather than Adams, but they're going to run that play multiple ways. Big down for the Syracuse Orange, good down for pressure and man for man.
Well, the call that came in from the USF sideline was a San Francisco Giants logo. Let's see what that is. Flowers having to scramble the throw. It falls incomplete. I think Dearness Johnson probably threw off the intended receiver, Rysheem Bronson.
It's hard to tell who he was throwing it to. In either case, it was certainly less than a bullseye throw. A good stop for the Orange defense. Gets their offense back out on the field. They had a nice drive before. They were moving the ball. Time to get back to business.
And so Jonathan Hernandez, the Bulls punter, back out there. He stands 6'4", 241 pounds, from Bradenton, Florida. Another good punt that Riley has to fair catch at the 10.
Syracuse has pretty much conceded these punt plays and punt return plays. Every punt so far, they put on a soft rush, no return, no attempt to block. They just kind of want to catch the ball and get their offense out there to do the work.
So now as we await the Syracuse offense to go back out onto the field, Coach, your impression so far from what you've seen from the quarterback, Eric Dungey?
Very poised, very accurate, knows his offense very well, and recognizes the holes in the defense, particularly zone defense, that are created by the wide spread of the receivers by formation.
So there is number 2 in blue, 6'3", 207. Came in leading the ACC with nearly 30 completions per game. There's another completion to Irvin Phillips. And again, it's a byproduct in part of this offensive style Syracuse has put in. And the opener against Colgate, 34 of 40 for 355 yards, a couple of touchdowns.
And we're seeing him as we mentioned before the broadcast, almost like a point guard on many plays, as a ball distributor. Get it to the playmakers, let them do something with it in a hurry.
Dungey feels the pressure, and he goes down at the 19. Josh Black, sophomore from Sickles High School in Tampa, with the stop.
Gain to the 14-yard line, 3rd down and 7.
So that'll bring up 3rd down and 7 for the Orange. 3 receivers to the left. Dungey looks that way. Here comes Black again, and somehow Dungey escapes. He's going to tuck it and run to the 20 where he steps out of bounds. And it is a Syracuse first down.
Dungey's a real competitor, Doug. He never gives up on a play. He makes good decisions, okay? And he's just got enough athletic ability to get out of the pocket and make first downs on plays like that, in which he was almost sacked. That was one of his better plays in the game.
Another short completion, Ishmael this time. And another solid pickup on first down for Syracuse.
The Bulls they've got to be able to play the inside run with their big defensive tackles and get enough defenders out on the perimeter so that they're not out leveraged.
Mo Neal, who on his first collegiate carry 2 weeks ago raced for 49 yards and a touchdown, gains maybe 3, and that'll bring up 3rd down with an injured Orange player on the turf.
A little more time to expound on that previous thought, Doug, that perimeter play, okay, sometimes what we call force or setting the edge, is essential to being able to play really good defense. And it's impossible to do so if the defense is either outnumbered or out leveraged. And that's what's happening to the USF defense on many of those catch and run plays.
Well, as they tend to Omari Palmer, we'll take a break from the Carrier Dome. USF up by 11. The big senior right guard for Syracuse, Omari Palmer from Coram, New York, walking off with a limp, and you can see why on the replay. Got rolled back, big number 57. And so another big hit to the Orange offensive line. Jason Emmerich, their starting center, out with an injury today. Colin Byrne, his fill-in, has done a terrific job. Now Dungey's pass completed to Strickland, who's driven back. Forward progress to about the 32, and that is a first down.
Eric once again showed his poise in the pocket. He looked to his left to that same little 3-man pattern that they must have completed 7 times in the game. Well defensed, kept his poise, looked over here to the single receiver, made a first down for his team.
Dungey now 25 of 37 for 277 yards through the air, and then Strickland continues to add to his career high, tackled by Sanchez. That's his 13th tackle.
The Syracuse running game inside is just effective enough to give them some balance and to continue to give the Bulls something to really concern themselves about. Double stack once again.
Strickland again, hit in the backfield and dropped right there by Kirk Livingstone, a redshirt freshman from Fort Lauderdale.
Syracuse has really run two different running plays. Doug, one is that inside dive play, straight ahead, not even really a zone play, just a straight ahead dive. And that gap scheme play where they pull the guard and the tackle from one side over to the other side. In that case, it was from right to left.
Evan Adams, redshirt freshman from Norwalk, Connecticut, getting reps on the offensive line. Pass completed, but a big hit delivered by Dietrich Nichols drops Editawo dead in his tracks.
That ball really kind of floated out there, a dangerous play from hash mark to sideline, but because Nichols was playing so far off, the ball had a chance to come back down to earth before he could get there. Those are the kind that often get picked off.
Steve Ishmael split wide to the right, snap bad, Dungy able to get it up and complete it to the 35-yard line. It's another Syracuse first down. Amba Editawo.
Well, this whole drive has been about the poise of Dungy, avoiding the rush, getting out of the pocket, going to the secondary receiver, in that case picking up a bad snap.
And I beg your pardon, that last reception was by Irvin Phillips. On first down, Syracuse another good pickup, running the football right up the middle.
Tackle made by Javon Thomas.
Javon Thomas with the tackle on Dante Strickland. And Strickland comes off. Mo Neal goes back out. USF defensively with 4 fresh bodies coming on. Well, Irv Phillips came into this ball game, Al, averaging 10 receptions through the first 2 weeks. Mo Neal takes the toss sweep and runs out of bounds. Irv Phillips now with 10 catches here today, 95 yards and a touchdown.
That pursuit of the Bulls defense has really slowed down, especially as they have to work from inside to outside. So much is made about the fatigue factor of defensive players against this hurry-up offense. But, you know, Doug, the 5 guys who never come out of the game are the offensive linemen, and they don't seem to get fatigued.
Into the game, Jordan Fredericks, number 22 in blue for Syracuse. Last year's starting tailback, also Cam McPherson. Back onto the field, the tight end. Play action, Dungy. Look right first. Now the pressure comes, and he just has to get rid of the football. Grizzly esteemed the nearest receiver to that pass.
On almost every third down, when McPherson comes in the game, it's an indication that the Orange are going to go to a 7-man protection and try to throw the ball further down the field. And that's what the case was on that one, although the 7-man protection clearly was ineffective.
There's Nigel Wilson again, getting a good shot in on Dungy. And so Cole Murphy comes out to try and attempt a field goal from 48 yards away. It's up. And Syracuse is on the board for the first time since late in the first quarter. It's back to a 1-possession game. The Orange within 8 of the Bulls. Off of the 48-yard field goal by Cole Murphy, Syracuse back within 8 of USF here late in the third quarter. And Murphy kicks off. Rodney Adams back into the end zone, and he'll take a knee. Well, the starting quarterback for USF is dynamic, and we've certainly got a taste of that here this afternoon, Al.
He's a runner and he's a passer. His inconsistency passing the ball, he throws some real strikes, some beautiful balls, Doug, and then he throws some balls that, like, who threw that ball? And the big part of it is just inconsistency and mechanics.
Well, as a freshman at USF, he ran the West Coast offense, struggled with the verbiage, etc., and only until they switched to this spread offense that he had run in high school did it all seem to come together for him last year and this year especially. Steps up in the pocket and goes down after picking up maybe 2.
Very good Syracuse rush. They were ready for it. That's one of the combination patterns with a progression read. That is a true NFL style, pro style passing attack, which is not always seen from these spread offensive teams. But the Orange had a really nice rush on it. 2nd down and 9 now.
Dejon Wilson, the transfer from the University of Colorado, with the tackle. They give to Adams, trying to find the edge. He cuts it back up, and a nice open field tackle in space made by Davon Ellison.
Hey, was that ever a nice open field tackle? Hey, that's a hard guy to tackle right there. Speed, elusiveness, but that was a clean tackle. The Cuse is in charge of this series right now. A 3 and out would be used.
On 3rd and 8, Flowers fires, finds his tight end. It's a USF 1st down. And that's Mr. Dillon, who we've been talking about, the sophomore from Ocala, quieting the crowd here inside the dome.
He's a very versatile player. He's an effective blocker, especially on the run. He's a huge target in the passing game. Now, that ball was really drilled. That was a laser shot by Flowers. Dillon's got NFL prototypical athletic skill and size. He's got a very nice future in front of him.
Well, they list him at 6'5", 256, and Dillon put on 10 pounds of muscle in the offseason. Still just a pup, only a sophomore. Adams, the motion man, incomplete. The nearest player to that pass was Davon Ellison, the safety for Syracuse.
That was the much-awaited play-action pass off the touchdown scoring play that we've discussed before that the Bulls love. Mack came out of the backfield, ran up the seam. They had 3 vertical receivers to the offensive left. He was wide open. Won't be more wide open on that play all year. Flowers just missed him.
Adams and Bronson to the left. USF will run the football on 2nd down. Darius Tice, the senior from Miami, coming off his career-high 120 yards against Northern Illinois, gets an opportunity here and picks up some big yardage. But it's 3rd down and 3. Empty backfield for the Bulls.
Probably this double screen once again.
Flowers instead going to keep it. He's tripped up, and I think he's just shy of the marker.
It was the double screen, but one of those RPO plays, Doug, so the quarterback had the option to keep it himself with the right guard pulling from right to left, leading him through. At this point, this is a good decision for the Bulls. They've got to be aggressive in terms of recapturing some of the momentum, and most particularly, they got to let their defense sit on the sideline for a while.
Big open space. Mack has plenty of room to the 30, to the 20, to the 10. Touchdown, Bulls! The Syracuse defense completely fooled, and Mack had nobody near him the entire way.
Well, the Bulls overshifted into an unbalanced line to their right. Syracuse slid over with them, but they slid so far over, they had no perimeter force on the backside. That's the easiest touchdown Mack will ever have. But boy, is he smooth and is he fast. He's a joy to watch. He's a really quality running back.
He sure is, and the Bulls are certainly glad to have him back. Syracuse not so much. Marlon Mack in the game in Tampa last year torched Syracuse for 184 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. And his touchdown here late in the 3rd quarter plus the PAT puts USF up by 15.
Just so much firepower, so much speed on this USF offense that it's just hard to keep them down the whole game. The left side of the offensive line just caves in the Syracuse defense, but Syracuse fell into that trap. They were outnumbered over there on that side. They had nobody on the perimeter for us. Easy run for Mack.
Well, Al, that was the first time USF has gone for it on 4th down this year here in week 3, and it worked out pretty well, I'd say. A 52-yard touchdown run for Marlon Mack.
Hey, you think, Doug, if they knew if they knew it was going to be that good every time, they might do it quite a bit.
Well, the element of surprise certainly worked there in the favor of the Bulls, and Dino Babers in discussion with 55 seconds remaining here in the third quarter. Jordan Fredericks and Sean Riley standing for Syracuse on the goal line. Nadelman's kick comes down to Riley at the 3, to the 20. Spins to the 23, and the Orange offense will come back out onto the field.
A little shout out to Nadelman, Doug. His kickoffs have been exactly where the Bulls wanted to go. He's put every one of them within a really tight circle. He's very accurate on his kickoff work, and the special teams enable the defense to start with advantageous field position for them after almost every kickoff.
Well, Al, it's not all about driving it through the end zone, right? I mean, it's about where you want to put it and what goes into the thought process for USF there, where he wants to put that football.
Well, they think he can kick the ball with enough height and they have enough speed on their coverage team that they're banking on the fact they can tackle the man inside the 20-yard line.
Dungy's pass nearly intercepted, jumping the route, Augie Sanchez.
So that's been an almost sure thing completion. Okay, there's no play that Syracuse runs more often than that. Augie now has moved his alignment out wider, closer to the receiver, smelled that one out as a common first down play, lost a chance for a pick six.
Now the vocal leader for the USF defense with a big play. Dungy's pass, this time caught near the 30 by Brisley Esteem and out of bounds.
Another one where he really just floated it out there, but with excellent accuracy. The accuracy of a quarterback is the most understated thing. Regardless, like a pitcher, Doug, regardless of the speed of his fastball, the most important thing is throw strikes. And Eric Dungy throws strikes.
He's in the backfield with the freshman running back Mo Neal. The tight end is Kendall Moore, senior from Chicago, back onto the field. Play clock at 5. On 3rd and 5, Syracuse will run the football, and Dungy is driven to the ground by Deidrin Sanat, and that'll bring up 4th down. That's the end of the third quarter. USF with a touchdown late in the period, up by 15 over Syracuse. Week 3 of the college football season for Syracuse and USF heads to the 4th quarter with the Bulls up 15. And on 4th down, a beautiful punt by Hofrichter. Johnson driven back to the 15-yard line, makes the first line miss, makes the second line miss, and now only Hofrichter to get past. To the 20, to the 10, touchdown USF.
Another spectacular play by the big play magicians on the USF Bulls. We just got finished at the end of the third quarter talking about all the offensive weapons they had, how hard they are to hold down. Okay, that was a play probably that many returners, Doug, would fair catch. Okay, Johnson, a lot of confidence in himself, split the first 2 tacklers down there, and once he did that, he had open field. Too much speed at any of the skill positions for the Bulls to be caught in the open field. Dynamic play.
84 yards, Al, and the crowd of 32,288, some of them begin to head for the exits with the lead now 22 after the PAT by Nadelman. 42-20 USF.
Here we see Johnson well out in front, and all those blockers there are very wise not to block back behind the play out of being overly aggressive. They just convoy him into the end zone. Time for a celebration.
Now, Dearness Johnson is enjoying his junior season so far. Last week he went for a career-high 87 yards rushing, and then here an 84-yard punt return for a touchdown. He's out of Immokalee High School, and that's a small town just north of the Everglades, and he has several of his old high school teammates from Immokalee with him for USF. None has made a bigger play than that one.
That return, Doug, really shows the depth of skill at the tailback position. That player who's big and fast is the second team tailback to Marlon Mack. And there can be no argument about that, as terrific as Mack is.
Yeah, Johnson's listed at 5'10", 208 pounds. Really a power back. And again, he's the guy we saw throw a pass earlier today. Very versatile. He's got a couple of touchdown passes in his college career. Sean Riley steps up to the 7, returns to the 20, makes a cut to the 25, spins, and is dropped at the 30-yard line.
This was the longest punt of the day for Syracuse. It's a terrific punt, but it's so long it kind of outkicks the coverage, and there's not enough speed on the coverage team. But guys are in position to make the play, Doug. They just don't get under control. Okay, they're like guys on roller skates. Okay, or a skateboard. They just slid right past them. That play could have been tackled with better open field tackling technique.
Now, Coach, this play upcoming as a flag is thrown.
Offense, 12-minute formation, 5-yard penalty, first down.
12 men on the field, I think, is what was said. And so the Orange push back 5 yards. Well, this play upcoming, Al, is going to be the 91st play run by Syracuse. They ran 93 last week in the loss to Louisville, and that's a big stat for Coach Dino Babers. And he wants to try and run as many plays as possible. Flags down as Dungy kept it.
Holding, offense, number 59. 10-yard penalty.
Doug, it's like at-bats in baseball. Okay, the more times you get up to the plate, the more opportunities you get to get a hit. So it's true, more plays have the potential for more production. By the same token, it's not all about how many plays you can run. It's about putting the game together, framing the game, because the only stat that really counts is the scoreboard.
Screen set up. Not going anywhere, though. Mo Neal tackled after a short gain.
So to go a little bit further with that, Doug, look, educationally, there are all sorts of schools, different colleges, engineering, liberal arts, and there are all sorts of degrees. The football degree that I got is from the Parcells-Belichick School of Football, and that means the only stat that counts are the numbers on the scoreboard.
Sounds like something Bill Parcells would say if he was here. Ishmael with the first down reception. Yeah, you spent many, many years in the NFL working under Coach Parcells, and you actually recently made a trip here to upstate New York to visit Coach Parcells.
My wife and I spent 2 very enjoyable days at Saratoga with Bill. Bill has 15 horses in his stable, and he's very involved. He's the kind of the owner, general manager, and head coach all in one. So he's enjoying that very much, and we missed right there for some of my extraneous talk there. A really nice slant play.
No, I set you up. Amba Editawo with the big reception, Syracuse on the march. But, I mean, people in these parts, a lot of New York Giants fans, they know Coach Parcells and that he has a home in Saratoga Springs and big into the horses. And like you say, you are part of that school of thought.
Now the Irons are continuing to fire away, as they should in this circumstance, and Editawo is the principal target.
He's got 8 catches for 123 yards. Neal, the motion man, comes set. Dungy surveys the secondary, now rolling out. Pass. Diving catch attempt made by USF, and it is intercepted.
That was a very aggressive play, really nicely played out there because the receiver was free on the sideline. Accurate pass, but that one, another kind of floater. Not as much zip on the ball as necessary to get out there, and the defender had a chance to react to it and come back on the ball, Taiji Fullwood, and make the interception.
Going on the field is an interception by South Florida. First down.
Yeah, they're going to replay this. The officials want to take another look to see if Dietrich Nichols actually had control of the football. He had 4 interceptions a year ago as a sophomore. Last year against Syracuse in this matchup, he was difficult for the Orange offense to handle. Coach Taggart's club on top by 22. He's got his offense on the field. Syracuse's defense is out there, and they place the football at the 25-yard line, and indeed the call will stand. It's an interception for Nichols, and the Bulls up 22 get it back.
3 backs in the backfield, a different look here for the Bulls. They got 3 real good tailbacks, so they all get to play on this play.
Yeah, why not? Get out there, guys. Mack, Tyson, Johnson, all 3 of them surrounding Flowers, who instead's going to throw the football. Little head fake. Nice job defensively by Syracuse not to bite too hard. And Corey Winfield able to finish off the play.
Well, that was a real nice job by the defense. That's a true NFL pattern, which after the play action fake, the receiver on the left ran a deep post pattern, and the receiver on the right ran a very deep over route, about 20 yards deep into the area vacated by the post route. But Syracuse recognized it. They were all over it and did a real nice job forcing 2nd and long. With this lead, this ought to be a conservative, keep the clock running play.
And loss of 6 on the play. The motion man is Chris Barr, and he turns the corner. Another big pickup by another weapon for USF.
Just as Syracuse has that quick little 3-receiver turn route that they've hit quite a few times, probably run it 9 or 10 times in the game. That's that same choice play. Inside run by the quarterback, sweep by the wide receiver that the Bulls really favor.
Well, Barr is one of 9 Bulls to have scored touchdowns this year. He had a touchdown in the win last week against Northern Illinois. 3rd and 1. And it's another USF first down thanks to Marlon Mack.
That's the same unbalanced line that the Bulls ran for the long touchdown run by Mack. And that time Syracuse was in the proper adjustment. Mack could still make the necessary short yardage.
So move the sticks again for USF out of the American Athletic Conference. And the Bulls use a timeout. So we'll step away from the Dome in Syracuse, New York. 11:02 on the clock. USF up 22. With Al Groh, Doug Sherman here at the Carrier Dome. And Al, Syracuse has more first downs than USF, 27-17. More passing yards, 346 to 142. More total yards, 503, 379. But the only total that counts is the one on the scoreboard. And the Bulls just keep on coming. Dearness Johnson with another big pass play for the Bulls.
He's passed, he's caught it, he's run it, he's returned kicks. What a versatile performer. Those guys who can do a lot of things, okay, they can keep playing football for a long time. That was the play action pass off the sweep combination play that the Bulls love, completed that time.
Coach Taggart says that now in his 4th year, he's finally got all the personnel that he would have wanted. Chris Barr dropped, though, for a loss on the reverse. You know, to have this vertical game that we've seen so many times, they've been able to break down the Syracuse defense for big plays.
Well, they certainly have, because a lot of the plays put the defense in conflict. The ball can be run inside, run outside, or thrown off the same action. So that creates a lot of read consternation, a lot of conflict for the defense, and the defense has had a hard time sorting it out. And because it's the Bulls' favorite package of plays, they're very good at it.
Loss of 5 on that run by Chris Barr. Power run up the middle. Darius Tice is dropped after a short gain. Again, we see Kendall Coleman, the freshman defensive end from Indianapolis, making another tackle. 3rd down at 14. Off the fake, Flowers checks it down to his wide receiver Adams, who's able to work his way for maybe a gain of 7 or 8. Cordell Hudson on the coverage.
A little surprising there, Doug, that the game situation that we're in, that ball was snapped with 23 seconds left on the clock. Okay, this is the time, not just for this game, but for the future, to practice clock management when you have a lead like this and an explosive offense that you've had a hard time with to run the clock down.
Emilio Nadelman out there for a 42-yard field goal attempt. Plenty of length, and it is good. Another scoring drive for the Bulls. Their lead is now 25 over the Orange. Coach Willie Taggart's USF Bulls comfortably in front 45-20 with 8:55 remaining in the fourth quarter.
Well, the way this game has been going, Doug, there's no moratorium on points here.
Right.
We still might see quite a few.
Well, this USF team was shut out in the first quarter today as Sean Riley returns yet another kick. Hurdles one defender, still on his feet. And flags come in from every direction. I see at least 4 on the carpet. USF was
during the return, holding, receiving team number 8, 10-yard penalty,
Ishmael
first down.
Called for the hold for Syracuse on the return. But USF a year ago in Tampa was shut out in the first quarter before coming back to a comfortable win. That was 45-24 was the final, just about where we are right now at 45-20. And for USF, as they push Syracuse back before the offense gets out of the field, USF looking to stay undefeated and go to 3-0. And even though Florida State, as many of you may know, did not do so well against Louisville earlier today, they got pounded by the Cardinals. The Seminoles are still a huge test for the Bulls, and in the state of Florida, anytime you play the Seminoles or the Gators or the Hurricanes, it's a big deal for a team like USF. Dungy throwing deep, and that's going to be intercepted at midfield. Nate Ferguson is dropped at the 35.
Nate Ferguson was the deep safety in a one safety defense. He read it all the way. There was 3 defenders around the ball, but Ferguson had a beat on it from the start. It was just like catching a fly ball.
Personal foul,
this was a pretty easy play
rugging
for
the
him.
passer, defense, number 99, 15-yard penalty.
Well, this is the
automatic first down.
second roughing the passer penalty in this particular game for Kevin Bronson, and obviously he doesn't learn his lesson very quickly, Doug.
And so because of that, as number 99 jumps and pleads his case, you take the interception away and Syracuse keeps the football. But we have not seen now Eric Dungy make too many ill-advised passes. He's made a lot of pass attempts today, and usually he's making a good decision, but that one there not so good.
Yeah, if that had stood up, that would have been 2 straight interceptions for him.
That pass caught by McPherson, and the big tight end, the Georgetown transfer, taken down at the 35-yard line, a gain of 4. Austin Hudson with the tackle.
Second down and 6 for the 35.
Toss goes to Jordan Fredericks, and he bolts across the 50.
Really, really nice block on the perimeter by Esteen. Not a lot of juice on that ball either. You know, quarterbacks get tired too. That's why they put pitchers on a pitch count. And when they get tired, Doug, it's not their arm that necessarily gets tired. It's their legs get tired. And when their legs get tired, they don't drive the ball with the same authority as when their legs are fresh.
And I don't see a bullpen here in the Carrier Dome with anybody warming up. So Dungy stays on the field. And Jordan Fredericks pushed out of bounds at the 41. Clock continues to run at 7:28. Dungy pump fake, now going to come back. Flags down. Amba Edatawo with another reception, but it may be coming back. That would be his 9th catch.
He's really stood tall for the Orange. He's caught him short. He's caught him deep. He's run after the catch. He's blocked on the perimeter. This has been a really good
holding offense, number 54, 10-yard penalty, third down.
This is probably the 5th or 6th major penalty in the game for the Syracuse Orangemen, and those are the things that just cause you to lose and effectively beat yourself. All three receivers out to the right now, only McPherson to the left. That means it's either a run or a perimeter play.
Dungy flips it over the middle, and another flag. I think that pass might have been intended for Sean Riley.
There were so many offensive linemen downfield, it was like they had 7 eligible receivers. So this one's easy to call from up here.
An eligible
this
receiver
is also
downfield.
loss of down.
Offense, number 59. The penalties decline. 4th down.
Well, the Florida State loss today by a considerable margin takes a little bit of shine off the South Florida, the USF Florida State game, but only for the public. Doug, there'll be a lot of excitement and enthusiasm for the Bulls and their fans.
Sterling Hoffrichter, the Syracuse punter from Valrico, Florida. Lots of Floridians on the Syracuse roster as well. You see that all around the Northeast at programs. But the team that is from Tampa, Florida, in complete control. The Bulls get the football back in control by 25 points. Up next for Syracuse, another non-conference opponent out of the American Conference, a trip to Connecticut to take on the UConn Huskies next Saturday. In their matchup here with USF, they led 17-0 after 1 quarter, but the Bulls have stormed back. It's going to be a whole different feel about the opponent in the ball game next weekend in Connecticut, right, Al?
Oh, you got that scouted out very well, Doug. It's another lots of A's and lots of C's. AAC against ACC game, but Syracuse is a high-scoring team that gives up a lot. Connecticut is a low-scoring team that doesn't give up much, so something's got to change.
Well, the backup quarterback, Brett Keene, has come into the ball game, and his first pass attempt is a completion to Tyree McCants for a big USF gainer.
That was a big league play out on the perimeter, showed what good quarterbacks do. Okay, he got out there on the edge, but he set his feet, even though he was moving. He settled in, got his feet underneath his pads, was in balance. Nice throw.
Well, Keene's first collegiate play was a 23-yard touchdown to Dearness Johnson a couple of weeks ago, and he is picked up right where he left off, and that again is the combination Keene to Johnson. Keene, a 6'1" redshirt freshman from Lakewood, Ohio, although he did begin his prep career at University High School in Fort Lauderdale. So again, another guy with Florida roots on this USF roster. Johnson gets tackled after picking up the first down. Well, Al, we talk about the fact that Syracuse is playing against USF this week and UConn next week. They are 2 of the 11 schools who are petitioning to try and leave the American and be adopted into the Big 12 Conference. And the folks watching down in Florida who are Bulls fans likely know that last Friday they made their formal petition to the powers that be in hopes that in the coming weeks they are granted the ability to join the Big 12 Conference. The conference still has not announced whether they're going to take 2 teams or 4 teams, but certainly are looking to expand soon.
You know, I don't know about the politics of all of that. I'm just interested in what happens on the field, Doug. But I did read at the end of the week where somebody within the Big 12 said, don't think that expansion is a given.
Keene's pass incomplete ahead of the intended receiver, Mitch Wilcox.
Wilcox was lined up on the left, ran to the flat, but turned it up on a wheel route along the left sideline. The Syracuse defense lost him. Had the ball been lofted up there and allowed him to run under it, it would have been another touchdown. But he unnecessarily drilled it, therefore it had to be pinpoint, and it wasn't.
They give to the motion man, Chris Barr. On the sweep, Syracuse was ready. It's a loss of 2. Zaire Franklin on the tackle. Well, the final numbers for Quentin Flowers are not going to jump off the page for you. 12 of 24 passing, 183 yards and a touchdown. 11 carries, 51 yards. But as they've done the first 2 weeks, Al, he's done a great job of spreading the wealth.
He did do that, and he got his team in the end zone. He made the big plays that got them there. That's the true measure of a quarterback.
So his backup Brett Keane trying to drive the Bulls for another score, and flags before the snap.
False start. Offense. Number 73. 5-yard penalty. Third down.
We've got a new quarterback, a new set of 3 receivers in the game. Wilcox at tight end. But the Bulls are still going with the same 5 offensive linemen that they started the game with. No opportunity to earn their letter for some of those backups.
Third down and 16. Keane flushed. Now comes back the other way. Giving up a lot of ground. He just throws it up and out of bounds.
You know, Doug, I mentioned earlier, no interest whatsoever on the part of the Bulls in terms of clock management. On that one, the play clock was reset at 40 seconds and was snapped with 38 seconds left on the play clock. So clearly they're just going to stay in their normal mode of play rather than try to wind the clock down at this time of the game.
And so the punting unit for USF back out of the field. Jonathan Hernandez will boot it away to Sean Riley on 4th and long. Fair catch again for Dixon. There is contact made at about the 12 or 13 yard line. 45-20, USF leading Syracuse. Syracuse has gone to its backup quarterback, Zach Mahoney, who on the year is a perfect 7 for 7 passing for 97 yards. He hands off on first down to Jordan Fredericks, and he picks up good yardage. Mostly reserves out there now for both sides. And there's a look at Zach Mahoney, who had been a walk-on, but just before the start of the season, he was put on scholarship coach. And you know that feeling as a coach when you are able to give a scholarship to a hard-working walk-on and how good that makes everybody feel.
It really does. It's a tribute to hard work, perseverance, commitment, and the other players always recognize it, and usually the teammates are as excited as the recipient when we're able to make that award. And I used to try to give 2 or 3 a year, sometimes even early, not before their senior year, but if I could see the numbers wouldn't work a year later, I would give it to the player for his junior year.
Well, Mahoney takes the spot of Dungy, whose final stat line is, again, eye-popping. 32 of 48, 350 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. He carried the ball 12 times for only 18 yards. Running play again for Syracuse, and it's Jordan Fredericks one more time, the sophomore from Inwood, New York.
Doug, as Coach Dino Babers works to rebuild the Syracuse program, it's significant to point out the great legacy of football here in Syracuse. There have been such great teams. Earlier, the 1959 national champions were honored. Everybody knows about the great backs: Ernie Davis, Floyd Little, Jim Brown, Larry Zonka, Marvin Harrison. You know, the great player who really got all this started for the acceleration of Syracuse football was Tim Green from right up here in Liverpool. Was a great player for the Orange. I had the privilege of coaching him when he was with the Atlanta Falcons. And a class guy, and has gone on to a tremendous career outside of football. But these are the kind of players who have come here. Striking on the Syracuse roster when Syracuse was really, really powerful. A lot of terrific players from Long Island, New Jersey, and Eastern Pennsylvania. This roster now, not Coach Babers' fault, he's having to overcome that. This roster is lacking players from those areas, but they're still down there. This is a terrific school, a beautiful campus. There's a lot here to make Syracuse a power once again.
Jordan Fredericks stopped after a short gain. He wears the number 22 in the backfield, and if you double that, that's the number that's the big one around here. Of course, number 44 hangs everywhere. It's the last 2 digits of the zip code on campus. It's also incorporated into the phone exchange because Jim Brown wore it first, Ernie Davis wore it next, and then Floyd Little after that. They're not the only three to have worn it, but they're the most notable. And, of course, Ernie Davis, whose name is on the field here at the Dome, was a Heisman Trophy winner, the first African-American ever to win. And how about the movie that came out in 2008, The Express, about the Elmira Express? That was the nickname of Ernie Davis, and what he means to this football community at Syracuse.
Oh, tremendously inspirational. And we talk about these great players, but certainly there are so many significant people of your profession that are at football games announcing today that have gone through the journalism school here at Syracuse University. And lacrosse is terrific. Basketball is an annual contender. And everything is here for Syracuse Orange football to get back to where we would all like to see it take its prominent place in college football.
Yeah, you mentioned lacrosse. Roy Simmons Jr., one of the big figures in all of lacrosse history, was here 2 booths down earlier tonight. It doesn't look like Coach Simmons has made it to the end of the football game.
Second charge timeout, Syracuse. This will be a 30-second timeout.
Timeout called by Syracuse, and that'll give us an opportunity to let you know that Amba Edetawo, the Maryland transfer, is our Capital One Impact Performance Player. And once again, the senior grad transfer from Maryland has really been impressive, Coach Groh, moving the chains and making big plays.
Doug, he caught him short, he caught him long, he caught him deep, he caught him inside, he caught him behind the line of scrimmage and ran with it. He's had an overall game, but you know, anytime we cite a wide receiver as player of the game, he's only part of the battery. And Eric Dungy did his part in getting the ball to his leading receiver and the best playmaker they have on their team. 2 guys who can add a lot to Syracuse football as they go through their growing stages in the Dino Fabers era here with the Orangemen.
And how do you figure a guy like Amba Edetawo, for 3 years at Maryland, was a contributor for the Terps, but never anything like we've seen the first 3 weeks here? How does that change, at least seemingly so rapidly?
Well, part of it has to do with the system. There was a coaching change at Maryland. I don't know what kind of system they were going to put in, but perhaps knowing the history of the Dino Babers offenses, and, you know, it's going to be a 50-60 pass per game. He probably wants to showcase his talents for an opportunity to enter the NFL. So he came someplace where they're going to throw the ball a lot. He can show what he can do, and it's worked out very well for him. And just picture what this Syracuse offense would have been today without him.
Well, you say Amba Edetawo was aware of the type of system Coach Babers was bringing to Syracuse. That indeed was the case, because Maryland played BGSU last year, and afterward he joked, boy, I wouldn't mind playing in that system, and indeed he has here at Syracuse. But in spite of the accolades, he's going to be on the losing side, 45-20 with South Florida in complete control. Syracuse will drop to 1-2, and USF will stay unbeaten 3-0 heading into Florida State week.
The Orange have a way to move the ball and to score points. Okay, what they have to really find is how to affect the other side of the scoreboard and keep those numbers down.
The Syracuse defense pitched a shutout in the first quarter, but then from that point forward, the Bulls just ran it and passed it wherever they wanted and race away with a 45-20 victory. Coach Taggart's club will head back to Tampa and get ready to host the Seminoles next Saturday off of an impressive 3 quarters. The second, third, and fourth were all USF. Coach, your final thoughts from this ball game?
The resurgence of the USF offense after they were down 17-0 showed real resiliency and most particularly confidence that early in the game was still very much in reach. Their offense did a terrific job coming back. Defense was definitely a bend but don't break. But, you know, over that time frame, it was 45 points for USF and 3 for Syracuse. So they really tilted the scoreboard in their direction.
So for Al Groh, I'm Doug Sherman saying so long from Syracuse, where the final score, Bulls 45, Orange 20. To watch this entire game on replay, as well as all other games on our family of ESPN networks, log on to watchespn.com or download the Watch ESPN app. The Bulls closed the game on a 45-3 run from the second quarter on and stay unbeaten at 3-0. This has been a presentation of ESPN.